And this is Carter's Corner. Wow, those levels are really high. So welcome to the show. We've got Bass over on the green microphone. We've got a special guest. We'll get to that in a minute. I'm not going to turn the mics on yet because we've got a few things we have to do first. And obviously we've got Travis Carter, Carter's Corner, on the red mic today. Now, for all the people out there on Facebook, in the social medias, we are broadcasting at the moment to, I think it's 10 different sites. There will be a link in the descriptions if you want to have a look online. Also, you can listen in to the music as well on 897fm.com.au. So, welcome to the live stream. We've got some lights in the studio today, so let us know if there's any glare or anything that you think we shouldn't be putting on there. This is all experimental, trial, errors, and a lot more errors. So, let's get into it. First of all, we have, and this is really, really exciting, so we do have Dr. Nataliia Nairn in the studio with us. I hope I pronounced that right. We'll have a chat to her in a moment. But before we get into this, because this is going to be a very, very open platform for the doctor, I'll let her explain what happened. So normally we open up the text line, which is 0418 897 897, and comments on the social media side of things. But for her segment, because this is such and I'll warn you now, get the tissues. When the first time I heard this, it was bad. So you may need the tissues, get them ready, and to help Dr. Nataliia through this, I will not be allowing comments for this section. The phone lines will be turned off just so we don't get any trolls or anyone trying to attack her, because it is a very, very powerful thing. Don't care, not reading them. Not. Oh, she will be coming on, but we've got disclaimers and everything we've got to do first. So we will not be responding to any text messages that come through or any phone calls or anything like that during this segment, but it will be open up later on for our other guests. So we've got an absolute doozy of the show. We had Charles Smith from MLC for the West Australia Party call out the president of One Nation WA for his decisions on his preferences. So kudos to the president from One Nation. He's actually agreed to come into the show, so he'll be on later as well. We've got... Yeah, exactly. You've got to be fair. Sorry, I just realised Bass's microphone's off. Let's just turn it back on. There we go. Yes. So as you said, it is fair to get both sides of the story.
Yes, always.
We've also got Mark Rowley, I think that's how you pronounce it, the independent from the South Metro area. Mick Mabood, I think that's how you pronounce it.
I'm not going to comment on that one.
There's some really funky names coming out, so it's really exciting. So we've got an absolute jam-packed show today, going to be really awesome. And then we've also got some other special guests coming through, which should have been here by now, but we'll just double-check, find out what's going on with them. If they're not here yet, we'll follow it up later. But first of all, we need to do these disclaimers. So first of all, I'm going to do a personal disclaimer first. This segment is about allowing Dr. Nataliia to tell her story uninterrupted, unedited, unfiltered, non-judgmental. All of this is from her perspective, and we're going to respect her to have the courage to be able to do this, because this is a really, really doozy of a story that's coming up, and it needs to be said, especially with the election less than 3 weeks away.
And she's been through quite a saga.
That is a massive understatement. Mm-hmm. So, and it involves like murderers and jail and all sorts of stuff.
So listen up.
Yeah, so it is an absolute awesome story. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to the normal disclaimer, and then we'll be right back in about 40 seconds. So this is 89.7 Carter's Corner. We'll be back shortly.
The following program may contain coarse language. Listener discretion is advised.
Opinions expressed on Carter's Corner are entirely independent of the opinions of Radio 89.7 FM's Wise Board, talented management and wonderful sponsors. Carter's Corner respects the right of each individual to hold and express an opinion unfettered by the shackles of political correctness and without fear of quivering in the quicksand of cancel culture. Radio is for entertainment, not censorship.
All right, Travis Carter back here again. We got all the legal mumbo-jumbo out of the way. Now, just to check the levels, Nataliia, do you rather Nataliia, Dr. Nataliia? What's your preference? How would you like me to call you?
Nataliia is good.
Nataliia is good? Okay, fantastic. And obviously, we've got Bass from the Health Australia Party here helping out again. Welcome back, Bass.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.
I'm stoked to have you here because what we might do, I think we really... Actually, are you classed a doctor as well?
I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. I'm
Yeah.
definitely not a medical doctor. No.
Okay,
But
fancy.
I am very good at putting people at ease and also putting people to sleep. So be careful if you're driving and listening to this voice. This is my disclaimer. No, I'll make sure I won't be hypnotising you or mesmerising you.
It's funny you say putting people to sleep
Sure.
because, Dr. Nataliia, where were you born?
I was actually born in Ukraine.
Yep, and you're an Australian citizen?
I am Australian citizen, yes.
Fantastic. So she's one of us. She's an Aussie all the way through. Oi, oi, oi. Okay, so why do we call you doctor? I've heard you spent a lot of time at university.
You probably would not believe, but I actually spent 12 years studying dentistry.
Dentistry. So she's the person that kids love to hate. The tooth fairy loves her to pieces. Now, are you just a normal doctor, finished degree, or are you like PhD, doctorate, or like how high up have you gone with your education?
I do have masters.
A master's? So,
Yep.
so you're not just a normal doctor, you're the bee's knees. You're like one of the best doctors. Well, maybe not one of the best, but you're right
come
up
on.
there. You're the best doctor I know.
Self-proclaimed one of the best.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I only know one dentist, so you're the best dentist I know. Now, this is a bit that gets really, really interesting. Tell us what happened. Why did the Australian government get an interest in you?
I think it is a long story, so I should start probably from the beginning. Let's put it this way. At age of 15, I got into uni to study dentistry because I was a high achiever and I have completed school earlier and I have completed with honours. So at the age of 15, I got into uni to study dentistry and I was the youngest at the uni. So I have completed 6-year degree in my home country, in Ukraine. And after that, I have completed masters in Kazakhstan. So I was already qualified in 2 different countries by the age of 22.
Wow. I was still going to nightclubs at 22. I'm not really thinking about education at all. So,
Different level of mastery.
Yeah. I'll leave that one alone for now. All right. So you finished up, you did your second degree in the Ukraine, and then did you come to Australia or travelled for a bit? So
No, actually the same year I was accepted to the Griffith Uni. To study dentistry, so that is another 5 years, full-time student, full fee paying student. And I was happy to accept that because to come to Australia was my biggest dream, probably dream of my life, as it was a good country, it was a democratic country, and I really, really loved to move to Australia.
okay, so you had that opportunity. You're now in Australia. You finished your university degrees. You're practicing. So when you first started practicing in Australia, where were you actually practicing?
I actually started in Albury. However, after that, I have moved to Canberra, and I've been in Canberra for about 2 years. I have been doing extra study, just like implants, braces, and
All the really fancy
yeah.
stuff. Okay, so
I was going to ask about that because that is very special dentistry. When you get into, orthodontics and braces and things like that, that is the next level. It's not just general dental.
Yeah.
So you were
You're
doing
right.
that. That's brilliant.
Yes.
You're
Yeah,
a
because
specialised dentist.
I've been in dentistry since age of 15. I absolutely love dentistry. All my life was about dentistry.
okay, fantastic.
Great.
So why did the Western Australian government take an interest to you when you were in Canberra? So what happened? So what happened at that point?
So I have moved to Perth in March last year. However, I still had about 25 patients with current braces and implants in Canberra.
Yep.
And it was my duty of care to finish up my patients, and I just something that I had to do.
So that's you had a very, very important word there, duty of care. So you can't leave a patient halfway through treatment. That's like having a kid with braces and you're going, no, you're fine, just leave them on for the next 20 years. Like, it's all good. So you did fly back to Canberra to finish off these patients for you. And when you came back into the country, obviously COVID restrictions were in place at the time.
Into the
A
state.
state, yes.
Into the state.
Yep.
So just heads up, Bass, you're drifting off your mic.
Okay,
So yep. So you were instructed to quarantine?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. But what happened?
So at that time, my boss was aware that I have to finish up some of my patients interstate. However, she did not take that into consideration about the self-isolation, and she asked me to come to work. Otherwise, I would have been fired.
Okay, so just quickly before that, did you have to quarantine in Canberra?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Canberra, no. New South Wales.
Okay, was there any active cases, community transmissions at the time in Canberra or New South Wales?
There was 0 cases.
0 cases. Okay, fantastic. And so when you came back to WA, you had to go into isolation as per regulations?
Even though you tested negative?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so you've tested negative. Were there any communal transmissions at the time in WA?
None.
So you've tested negative to COVID. There's no communal transmissions. You had a duty of care to make sure you finished up with those clients over in Canberra. There was no community transmissions in Canberra, and there was none in New South Wales at the time.
That's right.
And yet we're still in a state of emergency, which is, I think, is a joke. But we'll move on to something else. So when you got back to Perth, your boss said you have to go back to work. Okay,
Yep.
We won't name the boss yet. We're just still checking a few legal things on that side of things, so please don't get us into trouble yet. So this is an absolute doozy. So I do want to get Nataliia into the show next week. So hopefully you'll be cool with that one. So what happened? So you've got back to Perth. Your boss is putting pressure on you to go treat clients more.
Yes.
On their instructions, did you go to work?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know, under the State Emergency Act, your boss is not allowed to force you to work when you've been instructed to go into isolation. Okay. So you've gone to work, and what's happened after that?
So after that, when police came to my house to check on my self-isolation, I wasn't there because I was at work. So they eventually came to my work.
Yep.
And that's when everything started. They started to collect information.
Okay, so for most of the other people that have breached COVID isolation restrictions, they've just got fines. Like, here's a $1,000 fine, here's a $500 fine, whatever. So it's just fines. Can you tell us about your court case?
You're actually absolutely right, because after everything has happened, I started searching news, Perth news in particular. What is the fine, or what is the punishment? Let's put it that way. And yep, there was a punishment. One guy, he got $1,000. He did go to gym, shopping, all that kind of things, and he got $1,000.
Okay.
And yep.
What did you get?
I got 7-month sentencing and 9 weeks in prison.
So just so people are clear, what prison did you go to?
I went to Mirrabooka prison.
Which is a maximum security
That's
prison.
a maximum security prison.
So
And-
we have a doctor, a specialised orthodontist who went to work,
On
not to the
instructions of her
gym,
boss.
and she got a sentence for 7 months, which she had to serve out 9 weeks. Sorry, is that right? 9 weeks in
You're
jail.
right, yes.
And it is devastating. I can see how emotional and how much that affects you. Obviously, it doesn't seem right.
No, it doesn't. So what we're going to do now, so this, you can imagine hearing you've been just sentenced to jail for looking after people.
For going to work.
It's tough. It's a tough story. So we're going to go jump into a quick message from our sponsors, and probably a song as well, and then we'll be right back very, very shortly. So we're on Carter's Corner, and I apologise if this is like heavy. This is genuinely really, really heavy stuff, so it's about to get worse.
But I mean, these things need to be
It needs to be aired.
released to the community so
Yep.
that they can decide.
Exactly. So we're going to go to a quick message. We've got Dr. Nataliia Nairn. I'm done.
Nairn.
Nairn. Thank you. We've got Bass from the Health Australia Party in here once again. It's like absolutely killing it. So thank you, Bass.
Thank you.
We're going to go to a quick song, and we'll be back shortly.
Then you need to talk to station sponsor Off the Wall Promotions. Off the Wall can provide DJ and MC services, live music and photo booths. They can even live stream your event to anywhere in the world. Operating from Yanchep to Mandurah, Off the Wall Promotions is your total entertainment specialist. Simply search the socials for Off the Wall Promotions or check out their website.
The 89.7 Community File.
Have you heard about the Wanneroo Community Suicide Prevention Network? It is a group of community members who have been bereaved by suicide, have experienced ideation and attempt survivors partnering alongside service providers and the broader community. The network's focus is to promote positive mental wellbeing, the prevention of suicide through encouraging meaningful conversations, awareness raising, cooperative training, personalised support groups for those people who have experienced ideation or survived an attempt, community presentations and supporting organisations. Head along to their monthly meeting on the second Tuesday of the month from 9:30am to 11am at 11 Rockaway Road, Wanneroo. Or check them out on Facebook for the latest updates on community-based suicide prevention, as suicide prevention is everyone's business. If you are in need of support, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 to speak with trained professional counsellors 24/7.
Promote your non-profit organisation or community group, and it's free. Head to our website at 897fm.com.au.
All right, Travis Carter from Carter's Corner is back here again. So we do have Bass from the Health Australia Party. We've got Dr. Nataliia Nairn. I'm shocking with names. I really got to improve. So we're talking about her ordeal where so as a quick recap, qualified dentist in 3 countries with a master's, had a duty of care to finish off the treatment of her patients in Canberra. So she flew back to Canberra, 0 cases in either of the states, flew back to Perth. Whilst in the isolation, her boss said, you have to go back to work. I'm paraphrasing here as well. I don't know exactly what the boss said. So the police came to check to see if she was isolating. She wasn't home because obviously she was at work. So instead of giving her a fine, she got sentenced to
7 months.
7 months and served 9 weeks in a maximum security prison. Now, what I want to ask you is, tell me about what happened to you while you're in jail.
Who
was your cellmate?
So to start with, they actually placed me to the mental unit, a crisis care unit for 4 days.
Yep.
After I got out of the mental unit, they placed me with a murderer in a cell, and she actually still looking for about 10 to 15 years in jail.
So because you skipped your grounding, because that's effectively what the isolation is. You're grounded, right? You stay home. You've come across the border. You're a naughty person. Stay home for 2 weeks. And so because you skipped grounding, they put you in jail with a murderer.
Yes.
For 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
I was talking to you off air. What happened whilst you were in the mental...
Yep, in the crisis care unit.
Yep.
So basically what that units are designed for, they're designed for to protect prisoners from hurting themselves.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. Although I did not have any signs, I didn't have any attempts to hurt myself, but however, officers, they decided that would be the best choice. That's okay. So they placed me in a cell. In about 2 days, they have placed another prisoner in there. But the cell is designed only for one person.
Yep.
So the prisoner actually stayed on the floor. She have slept for about a few hours. After she woke up, she started threatening me of actually killing me. After she started screaming, making noise, naming names, the officers showed up to our cell and they have opened the door. However, it was very interesting because no one did anything. They've been standing at the door looking at her screaming. She was banging the walls and she was saying explicit language, and she was saying that this girl, she's here for COVID breach and she will actually kill me tonight. And the officer looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I actually said, "Do I look okay?" No, I'm not. In about 10 minutes, they asked the other girl to leave the cell. However, she refused and she actually started throwing things.
Do you feel your life was at risk?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That was probably one of the scariest moments in my life. And I was disappointed when officers been standing there, not making any movements.
Yep. Okay, so you finally got out of the isolation. You're back in your cell.
only to have a prison cell with a murderer
Yeah.
who's got 10 to 15 years left. Can we go through your mental state, going from a dentist who's a professional,
Yeah.
who's a person that's never broken any laws, and then going to a court case
Yep.
where you're told you're going to jail with a sentence of 7 months, which you've got to serve 9 weeks. What was your mental state like? Because, I mean, you seem pretty calm right now, and obviously it is still emotional, but, I mean, any person would be completely going out of their mind. Especially for a victimless crime where you've
Yeah.
tested negative, you didn't have to quarantine in Canberra, you had to go to work here. So what was your mental state? Just walk us through that. Like, were you in shock?
Yeah, shock. I just couldn't believe it. And to be quite honest, people have been telling me, look, you probably wouldn't go to jail because there were no other people who went to jail because of they did not self-isolate themselves. And I thought, yeah, probably seems about right. But yeah, getting 9 weeks for crossing a state border. As I've mentioned, I was born in Ukraine and my mom is in Ukraine. At the same time, she was overseas on her vacation. And my dad, he's actually in the United States. He was having a break overseas as well. And their daughter is sitting in Australia, one of the best countries in the world, and she's in jail for crossing a state border for COVID.
Maximum.
And it's not just that, it's a maximum security. This is like where gang bosses and rapists and
Murderers.
pedophiles, like the worst of the scums.
And we throw a dentist in there because she broke a quarantine rule.
Broke a grounding. It's like, you know, when you have a naughty kid and you're grounded, you go to your room. Like, you broke grounding.
Did you feel it was a bit severe? Did you feel like you've been made an example out of?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, totally.
Do you consider yourself a political prisoner? Do you think Mark McGowan has done this purely for political points?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, talking of political points, that goes to a very, very big point. I read quite a lot on this one. The media, from my perspective, try to paint you as the worst criminal of the decade, and some of the reporting was terrible. Did you see that reporting before you went to jail, or did you see it when you got out?
To be quite honest, I've actually read only one article about myself, and probably that was one of the worst ones. As I'm actually a competitive athlete, I am a power lifter. I do have 6 national records. I have 6 gold medals, and I train in the gym 6 days a week. To add to this, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I do gym and dentistry. That's it. And one of the reporters, they took my photo from my social media and saying that I was flashing my abs. And I thought, well, excuse me, that doesn't seem right. You did not include that I compete maybe every 3 months.
Yep.
I'm in good shape, and I compete for Australia. So, yeah, saying that I'm flashing my abs on my private social media.
Was this before or after the prison sentence?
Yeah,
before. And after I read that article, I just stopped reading everything that they would put about me.
I can tell you now, it's bad. Do you think it was a trial by media?
Yes.
Yep. So is there anything you'd like to say further? Because this is the whole reason we've done this segment for you, is because there's no way in hell Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, ABC, any of them would have given you a chance to say your story uninterrupted. They would have had a narrative they wanted to push. Is there anything that you want to get out there, anything you want to say to the government or to people that you've treated out there, anyone you want to say thank you to?
And this is the beauty of community radio, that you get your voice.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I never thought I would have a chance. Those 9 weeks were horrible.
All right.
Well, let's start with this, just to help you through your emotions there. What would you say to the judge, the person that gave you the 7-month sentence? What would your sentiment be?
I've been thinking about the judge, every single night when I was going to sleep in a cell and having a murderer in the same cell. And I was thinking, so I'm making $3 a day. I'm qualified dentist in 3 different countries. I'm Australian citizen, and that's how you treated me when no one was hurt.
How would they feel if it was their daughter sentenced like that for breaking the quarantine?
That's what I thought.
Did they ever tell you why they gave you such a harsh sentence?
Not into my face, but people have been saying they wanted to make an example of me.
It's harsh.
I can't stand that. Now, this is like everyone goes, okay, no worries, you're out of jail now, you can go back to work.
Can you go back to work?
No, I can't.
You've now been given a life sentence, and why?
You're absolutely right. It will be a life sentence as AHPRA suspended my license.
So AHPRA's suspended your dentistry
just
license.
Quickly, who is AHPRA?
Australian Health Practitioners Registration.
It's the governing board for most
They're the guys that give out all the licenses that allow you to practice in the industry that you're trained in. So a doctor will need a doctor's license, same as a lawyer needs a lawyer's license or that sort of stuff.
And I've been thinking about this because whoever deciding to give my license back or not, they're not doctors.
Okay. I've actually read their letter to you, and what they're claiming is that you were acting in a manner that, I can't remember the exact words, that was not showing the best interests to your patients. But the whole reason you were breaking restrictions in the first place is
was
because
for your patients.
Patients needed you. Yeah. So I would love to get AHPRA on the show and get them to clarify exactly what they meant by that, because it was such a wishy-washy letter. Like, it was just full of nothing.
We'll try and get him on next week's show,
definitely.
Travis.
I think we definitely need to get him in next week. And
she didn't break any dentistry regulations as such, right?
No, not at all. So how it works, they actually give you some time to respond to that letter. And do you want to guess how much time they gave me to respond?
If it's a government thing, probably 2 days.
2 days after I got off the jail.
Oh, wow.
2 days after I got off the jail.
Yep. So with this, there's just absolutely no presumption of innocence at all in this.
No, it's guilty until proven innocent. Is that the case?
And there's been other cases where cases have been thrown out of court because the media got a hold of them and they reported too much information. Like some of these articles were putting your whole entire lifeline, everything out there. And how can this be anything but trial by media? Even with the AHPRA guys, they've effectively fired you and banned you from ever practicing again, purely based on what's in the media.
You'd expect to hear or see this somewhere in another country, but not in Australia. This is completely un-Australian.
Has there been any genuine politicians, so I'm talking members of parliament, who have come up and tried to fight for you, like to try and help you? Have you been in contact with any members of parliament in Australia?
So the only person that's reached out to you is a member of the public, just
so
a genuine person.
Michael is the one person that actually did help Nataliia through everything. He's just a general, everyday, nice guy.
Yeah.
He's not a member of parliament. He should have been, but we've had Michael Darby actually on the show a few times. He's been an absolute legend. A true Aussie. That's as far as it is. So as far as I'm concerned, the way the government treated you is totally un-Australian, and they should be ashamed of themselves. So I, from the bottom of my heart, like when I first heard your story, there was a few other things you haven't said yet, but we'll get to that on another show.
It's a sad story, Travis. I'm shocked, to say the least.
Yeah, look, I do a lot of volunteer work outside of the radio station, and I know people who've committed suicide over less than this. How you haven't tried to hurt yourself, how you're still able to talk about it, is just insane. It just shows true fortitude. So. And I'm absolutely disgusted in the government, especially the Labor government, who's put all these regulations in place, and then the Liberal opposition for not fighting for people such as Dr. Nataliia here. So it's disgusting.
And then above it all, she gets deregistered from her occupation.
She can't even have an occupation now either. So one of the things we have done, when I first heard the story, Because it gets even worse. Off air, you were telling me that there's a very good chance, because you can't earn an income, there's a very good chance you don't be homeless in the next couple of months.
Yes, actually 2 months, yeah. I think it's about 6 weeks, yeah.
So what I've actually done, and we don't put all the details up on the Facebook post and all this sort of stuff, I've actually created a GoFundMe account. So on it, my first thought was to, first of all, get your housing, because I've lived on the street in the past and it's not fun. First of all, get you a house to live in. Secondly is we need to cover some of your lawyers' costs to try and get you your license back as well. So for the people listening out there, the details will come up on the Facebook after the show. So please jump on board, share it with your friends. Even if it's like $5 or something like that, just chip it a little bit in. I know everyone's struggling with COVID at the moment, but this is just beyond a joke. Like, I can't believe that they've done what they've done to you. So I'm happy to fill in for the government that's failing on your behalf. So,
Thank you.
How are you holding up?
Trying, yeah.
Take every day as it comes. Yep. Okay, and final notes for today, because I do have to be a little bit conscious of the time. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go to the next set of messages? You're looking a little bit shell-shocked there. So no.
There's a lot that I want to say, but I don't think we have enough time for today.
Yep. So are you happy to come back next week?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. We'll definitely do a follow-up on this one. So what we don't do, we don't go to our messages. Dr. Nataliia, thank you very much for coming on the show today. You've been awesome. Keep your chin up, keep pushing, and I know there's going to be a lot of people who get behind you and help you out through this one. So
thank you.
This is Carter's Corner. Travis Carter here. We've got Bass on the green mic tonight, and you can listen live on the internet. Obviously, Carter's Corner on Facebook. We'll be streaming on Travis Carter on the YouTube.
And it's live on Health Australia Party's Facebook page, streaming now.
And if you look in the descriptions below, I think this is coming up, I can't see, there's a list of all the different sites that it will be streaming. So if you see it, please make sure you share it to all your groups, because Dr. Natalia's story needs to get out there and the government needs to be held accountable for what they're doing, because it's not just copying fines that. You're destroying people's lives and it's not acceptable. They need to be held to account. So let's go to a message and a song.
Want to grow your business in the city of Wanneroo? Join over 400 other businesses and become a Wanneroo Business Association member today for just $30. Visit wanneroobusiness.com to find out more.
Station sponsor.
Oi, Karen. Yes, Stephen. We've been told we need to promote our show, so you got to sell it to me, baby. We actually got a 5-star review the other day saying we're surprisingly listenable. Did we really? No.
Stephen and Kerrod live on Monday nights from 8 on 89.7.
Are you a small business owner looking for growth within the city of Stirling? Then why not consider becoming a member of the Stirling Business Association? The professional team can assist you in all aspects of your business. To find out more, simply search Stirling Business Association. Station sponsor.
Nearly 95% of Aussie 5-year-olds are now fully vaccinated, but we need to do more to protect all our kids.
Immunisation saves lives. Get the facts.
Visit the website, authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Travis Carter on the red mic. We've got Bass from the Health Australia Party on the green mic. And we've got Jason. He is from the Medical Research Australia.
Oh, I got to correct you there, Trav. Medical Cannabis Research Australia.
Specifically cannabis research.
That's exactly right, because that's what we do.
Yeah, very good.
Awesome. You're a little bit loud. You project very well. Now, we also have a person on the phone with us. Leslie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Fantastic, Leslie. Hang on, I'm just updating my notes.
The key word, underlining it.
Well, it is a very, very important issue. So there's a very good reason why we've got Jason and Leslie on the show today. So for those who watched all of last week's very, very long show, we went 41 minutes over and got into a bit of trouble for it. We did have the... what was it, Cannabis Australia?
We had the legalised
cannabis.
Cannabis, yeah, WA.
Australia. So it wasn't medical cannabis. So we finished the show on a high.
Yep.
They just wanted to...
Pun intended.
Definitely. They just wanted to totally decriminalise cannabis, regulate it, have the boost. Very similar to the platform to California, which personally I think has worked very, very well. So California financially is doing very good, and crime did go down when they legalised cannabis. So... when we're not legalising to smoke to get high, we want a medical high.
Well, these are the guys doing the research on the medicinal cannabis.
Correct. So...
all right, let me jump in. And sorry if I'm projecting too much.
No, I've got it on this side.
Pull that fader down just a little bit. So, Medical Cannabis Research Australia was initially set up because we had seen the evidence coming in from overseas, And by the way, those who say there is insufficient evidence to say that medical cannabis is helpful haven't done their research.
There's so much evidence
There is
out there.
so much. So we saw the evidence overseas and we said, look, this is something that needs to happen here because we have an opioid epidemic. People are dying from opioids and not just from overdosing, but from taking them as they're supposed to take them. People are getting constipation, which doesn't sound like a serious thing.
It is
but I can
when you're
tell you
vomiting
now,
as well.
Correct. When you are in a lot of pain already, particularly if you've got bone cancer or, some other whole of body pain, and suddenly you've got that as well, it can make your life very unpleasant. So
unbearable.
We saw this evidence and we said, right, we need to do something here. Now, interestingly enough, when we first got together as an organisation, we thought that legalisation of medical cannabis would be 2, 3, 4 years down the track. It happened.
Sorry, can you get me water?
It happened within six.
Water.
It happened within 6 to 8 months of us setting up the party.
That's
the
quick.
party. I shouldn't call it a party, should I? It's a charity.
Yeah, it's an organisation.
As an organisation, we went, well, hang on, this happened very, very quickly. What else can happen quickly? And unfortunately, the situation that we're in at the moment in Australia is that there is now a growing awareness of the efficacy and the safety of medical cannabis, but unfortunately much of the medical fraternity is still resisting it because they've not been educated about it.
Right.
There is still a resistance from many politicians, in particular, and I know you don't want to hear this, but in particular on the conservative side of politics, which is enormously frustrating. And perhaps even more frustrating, this call from the medical fraternity to say there's not enough evidence, which is complete rubbish. You jump on PubMed and actually do a search of all of the studies that have been done. There are thousands of them. So it's very frustrating, especially when I hear Andrew Miller from the AMA.
Oh, we love that person here.
Personally, I don't have too much of an issue with Andrew, except for when he gets into the medical cannabis area, and he comes out and says there's not enough evidence. And I'm sorry, Andrew, but there is. And you know what? I, personally, am one of those bits of evidence, which may well be considered to be anecdotal.
But we have a great segue with that, because Leslie on the phone.
Hello, Leslie.
Leslie, you still there? Did you get your glass of water?
Yeah, I did.
Just in time.
We did hear that. So my understanding is you've got your own medical. So just to be clear, this is medical. This is not smoke to have a great time and go meet Bob Marley marijuana.
No.
This is the medical cannabis oil. So you've got your own story. So tell us about it, Leslie.
Okay, I was diagnosed back in March 2015.
Yep.
Stage 4B. Cancer, and then I went on and had 6 rounds of chemo, and then another 2 concurrent rounds, 2 chemos concurrent with 30 rounds of radiation, and then I was back to no evidence. But of course, the cancer came back by March 2017.
Yep.
And it was back to my abdomen, my liver, my lungs, bowel, sternum. Pretty much a goner.
Yep.
But I told my oncologist I'm not doing chemo again. So he said I'll put you on a hormone blocker. And I thought, well, I'll give that a shot for a while. That was in March 2017. My cancer markers didn't move at all, but my eczema and everything else went, my arthritis, all those things. Anyway, so then the oil, I started that August, like I said.
Yep.
And by the end of August, my cancer markers had dropped straight away. And then my next scans in October, he said perfect scans.
Wow.
So up to date now. I just had scans last November, and he said you're absolutely in complete remission.
Wow.
So just so we're clear, when it came back, you didn't take any chemo or the standard treatments at all? None?
When it came back, he put me on letrozole. I took that, but the markers weren't dropping.
Okay, and then you went to the
So
cannabis...
I didn't do anything until I had the medicinal cannabis oil.
Yep, and that was
in no time.
2017?
2017, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're 2021. So that's within 4 years, you've gotten rid of the cancer, and then it's
complete remission.
Complete remission.
And I've got to say as well, knowing Leslie quite well, I've actually seen Leslie go from looking Leslie, I hate to say it, but I think you'd agree with me, looking terrible, looking emaciated and sunken eyes, the whole lot. I mean, she was looking really, really bad. And I was very, very worried for Leslie. And then more recently, and I've actually sent her a couple of messages about this, she is looking vivacious and fresh. And in fact, she almost looks like she's pregnant.
Get that man some CBD oil.
Jason, you.
Well done.
It's just amazing. Such an amazing turnaround.
Do we need to get a candlelight dinner for the two of you?
Well, I'm a happily married man, but hey, she's pretty hot.
That's your wife, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Just don't want to get you into trouble at all. So.
Well, congratulations, Leslie, for being in remission. I mean, from something that's a life sentence to turn it around like that is absolutely miraculous.
Yeah, so
it is. Yeah.
Now, Leslie, I know especially with chemo, radiation therapy, and all that sort of stuff, the amount of side effects are through the roof. It's like they're intentionally poisoning you in the hope that you'll survive.
Yeah.
With the medical cannabis, what side effects did you have, if any?
What side effects of medicinal cannabis?
Yeah. So for those people who don't really know much about the medicinal cannabis side of things, were there any side effects at all? Did you feel nauseous? Did you have random pains? Or was it just a really, really comfortable medication?
It was everything positive.
Fantastic. So you can't
everything
fault
was positive. All these different things it does. Like I said, the arthritis, hay fever. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I used to have migraine headaches. They've all gone as well.
So there's just absolutely nothing that we can fault medical cannabis except...
I don't know, it can maybe make you a bit chubby, you get the munchies every now and then.
Yeah, and it's crazy expensive.
I don't think the oil has that effect.
Actually, with me, my weight actually stabilised then.
Yeah, that's right.
And especially if you're in chemo and your weight's going down, having a stabilising weight is actually a really good thing.
Well, in fact, that's one of the reasons why we talk about using it in palliative care, because it actually encourages people to eat.
Yeah.
And people make jokes about, cannabis giving you the munchies and that kind of thing. And there are certain forms of medical cannabis which still do contain the psychoactive component, which is the THC.
Yep.
And that is the component which traditionally people have associated with the munchies when you do consume cannabis. But in many ways, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Especially for cancer patients who can't eat, because the moment they eat, they start throwing up.
Or people that have anorexia, or people that don't normally have a big appetite. That would be a great...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's also a really compelling argument to say the human body actually contains something called the endocannabinoid system. We actually have receptors in our body, not just in our brain, but also in our gut and various other organs, that are specifically, whether you want to call it evolution or design, whichever way you want to talk about it, they are specifically for receiving cannabinoids.
Yep.
Now, unless we were designed to take cannabis or we've evolved alongside cannabis, why else would we have those receptors in the human body?
Yep.
And no matter who takes this stuff, they get some kind of health benefit out of it. Now, don't get me wrong.
Agreed.
Cannabis, like any other substance, can be abused. And it should be controlled and regulated. There's no argument about that. But in terms of its ease of access for people who need it, and in terms of its pricing so that people can afford it, then I don't think there's anybody that can argue against it, especially once you've seen the effects it has on people like Leslie and even myself.
Yep. So the biggest thing...
And Jason... Jason, there's also Louis. Remember Louis, the pancreatic cancer?
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, I saw him the other night. He's looking $1 million too, and he's in complete, no evidence of cancer as well.
So you guys, just in case you're not aware, but with pancreatic cancer, that tends to also be a death sentence. It's pretty much once you start getting the symptoms of the pancreatic cancer, there's supposedly no coming back from that.
Yep.
So again, to see someone who's in remission. Now, we do have to make one point, and I think Leslie would confidently make this point as well. Whilst we know of people who have experienced this, it is not appropriate to go out there and say that cannabis is a cure for cancer.
I don't think anything's a cure for cancer.
No, until the research has been done and the papers have been published and they've been peer-reviewed and the scientific consensus is that it does this, I think it is foolish to actually tell anybody, take this, don't take that, and you'll get better.
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's
in any way.
absolutely not. No.
And I can attest to that
as
well.
Can I butt in?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. I always tell people I don't believe it cures anything. I said it's like being a diabetic or somebody with heart problems. if you take your medication, it keeps it at bay and controls the situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop taking it, as Jason knows, when he stopped taking it, his symptoms came back.
Yep.
And I've found people with cancer, they get to no evidence of cancer, and then they don't keep taking the medicinal cannabis oil, and the cancer comes back, and then they've got to take it again, and then it'll go again, you know?
It's that old analogy of saying I've been pretty safe during this parachute descent, but now that I'm only 50 metres above the ground, I can take it off now because I don't need it anymore. Splat.
Yeah.
No, you've got to keep that parachute on. We've got to keep taking the medicine.
Yep. So it's more like
thing,
it's like a support for your body's natural immune system. So your body is getting a bit of a boost to assist in doing what it's meant to do.
I would say so. And look, we recently, as a part of the charity, went over to the UK to actually lecture some of the medical professionals over there. And there was this fantastic lecture that we did in one of the old, you can imagine the old British institutions, and a lot of buttoned-up doctors with the round glasses and the bow ties. And they all sat there at the beginning of the seminar with their arms crossed, and their body language was saying that they just don't believe any of this. And by the time we came to the end of it, the body language had changed completely, because we gave so many examples of, people that had gotten better, so many examples of the research that's been done and the proof that exists, and the bias that people have, because we've all been inculcated into this mindset throughout our entire lives that this is just another drug. It's a gateway drug. If you get on this, the next thing you're going to be out there jonesing for heroin and everything else. It's simply not true. In fact, we actually now use cannabis to get people off some of the harder drugs.
Yes.
It has so many uses that we need to get past the stigma that exists. And I'm just as guilty, because prior to getting onto this stuff, I thought the same thing. I thought it was bad and wrong and evil and nasty.
Oh, can I cut in?
Go on, go for it.
I'm with you too, Jason. I was completely against cannabis all my life. It was illegal, and you don't go there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm exactly like
Total
you.
faith in the government, eh?
From skeptics to believers. So how does it go with people that are like diabetics, or people that are like my father's gone from type 2 diabetic to dialysis for kidney?
So you mean in terms of taking it with the existing medications, or just does it help with that condition?
Well, I guess what I'm thinking for him at the moment, it's like either he's got to get a new kidney or he's got to continue doing dialysis for the rest of his life. So if this could help him...
Yep. Leslie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, I was saying my mum, she's 89. She's she's the first one in the nursing home there in Marangaroo to go on medicinal cannabis oil. She was a diabetic before. She's not anymore.
Wow.
The only tablet she takes now, they keep her on Panadol and the cannabis oil. That's all she's on today, and she's 89.
Leslie, if it's okay to ask, what was her primary diagnosis?
She was in late stage dementia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, we have had because we do have the text line, so 0418 897 897. We have got a text message come through. If cannabis doesn't affect people, why do we call stoners stoners?
Absolutely it affects people. No one's arguing that point. But I'll ask you a question. Let's say, for example, you were in Northbridge and you were standing outside of a nightclub, and there's a group of guys coming out of that nightclub. Now, you've got a choice. They're either coming out drunk or they're coming out stoned. Which group would you rather approach? Which group would you rather have approach you?
I can tell you from personal experience.
The more relaxed ones.
The more relaxed ones. Look,
I'd just rather not be in Northbridge.
There are absolutely no health benefits to alcohol. Okay, you can argue it one way or the other. Yeah, wine's got tannins in it, blah, 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 blah. But for a doctor to turn to me... Yeah, if a doctor turns to me and goes, Mr. Jordan, I don't want you to have cannabis because it is a drug and it's not good for you. And then he's going to go home afterwards and crack open a bottle of red and drink the whole bottle. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, but the health benefits are incomparable. So why do we call them stoners? Because if you abuse cannabis, because it is a psychoactive substance, you will get high. And if you get high, you are likely to be what we call intoxicated. And if you're intoxicated, you shouldn't be driving, you shouldn't be out there operating machinery. It is a drug. And it needs to be taken seriously. And it's all well and good for people to use it recreationally. That's not what my charity is about.
Yes.
I have personally no issue with humans and adults doing what they want to do. But as an organisation, our mission is to get medical cannabis into the hands of those that need it. Now, that includes children with epilepsy. That includes people with cancer. That includes people like me with multiple sclerosis. My neurologist said to me, Jason, I'm so glad that we were able to use you as a guinea pig because I was the first MS patient in WA to get medical cannabis.
Oh, wow, nice.
He said, I have now since tried it on dementia patients, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, acquired brain injury.
Wow.
He has tried it on a wealth of people and had positive outcomes from every single one of them.
Incredible. And just to rephrase, we're not talking about smoking it. We're talking about the oil.
Now, so in
properly
Australia,
produced, safely produced.
we've got to put it in context because I don't ever want to be accused of misleading anyone, okay?
Right.
90% of the medical cannabis prescribed in Australia is oil.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay? The remainder of it comes in various forms, but the bulk of that would be what we call flower. So it does come as the conventional, traditional bud that we all know about. Yeah.
Oh, flour as in the plant flour, not what you bake a cake with.
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's yes. So the actual bud of the plant, you know that sort of nugget, if you want, that has the little.
I've never seen marijuana
No, I'm
in
sure
my
you
life.
haven't.
I have no idea what
So
you're talking
suffice
about.
to say, some people do get it prescribed, and they do use it to either smoke it or vape it.
Right.
Now,
back in
our
the day-
preference is that we don't smoke it because it does contain carcinogens, and it is not a good practice.
Sure.
Even with
makes
vaping,
you
whilst that's much safer because you're only getting the volatile oils that come off the top, you still don't even really want to be doing that because, again, you can't measure the dose. We don't know how strong it is. We don't know how much you've consumed. At least with the oil, it's a known quantity, grown in a known way. It's mixed in a certain way. It's prepared pharmaceutically. We know what it is. We know it doesn't have bacteria or mold or anything else in it.
Yep.
We know how much to take. And from a doctor's point of view, it's replicatable. Every time you take it, you're going to have the same output.
And that's one of the key factors with the FDA. They like the fact that it is repeatable. Because there's
Correct.
no point saying, oh, this cigarette worked, but the next one might not work because it's got different
There
things
is
in
one
it.
shortcoming in all of this. Now, of all the medicines, I was on 7 different daily medications. I'm now down to 1 plus the medical cannabis.
Yep.
The problem is that medical cannabis is not on the PBS, the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme.
And I said that earlier, it's very
expensive.
expensive at the moment.
It is expensive, but it's actually a little bit cheaper now than street cannabis, what you go out there and buy off the street.
Right.
Because the price is coming down due to market forces.
Yep.
But suffice to say, the real issue that we have with all of these arguments about the cannabis side of things is we're fighting a battle not just against government, but against the green market, against the black market people who think that it should be available recreationally. And you know what? This is just a step on the way to their objective.
Okay, I do need to jump in here because we are 4 minutes over, so we do need to do a message. So I do want to continue this one because I think there might be some minors listening in because I've sent us some questions, which will be very, very interesting. So Carter's Corner, we've got Jason from Medical Cannabis Research Australia and Leslie on the phone, who is
Cancer survivor.
A recovered cancer survivor, and also Bass from the Health Australia Party. Carter's Corner, we'll be right back after this.
It's a goal! When the unexpected leaves you shattered, reach out to Master Glazier Campbell at Woodvale Glass, your station sponsor. Campbell has plenty of points on the board, being in the business for over 45 years, so don't wait. Phone 0432 543 316 for all your glass, mirror, security screen, wardrobe and shower screen needs, or check out woodvaleglass.com.au.
Summer's finally here, and the team at Acclaim Landscapes are ready to create that perfect outdoor living space for you and your family to relax and entertain in. With over 25 years' experience in award-winning garden design, along with innovative paving and reticulation work, station sponsor Acclaim Landscapes will guarantee a fantastic outdoor renovation for your home. For more information, call Peter on 0411 851 841.
Hi, this is Andrew Berger for RAD, recording artists, actors and athletes against drink driving. In basketball, whether we're attacking or defending, it's important for me to stay focused. Get behind the wheel of a car after you've been drinking, even if you're just a little bit over, and it's easy to lose focus, lose your license and maybe even your life. So before you go out for a drink, plan ahead. Arrange a designated driver who won't drink. The life you save might be your own.
A message from RAD, radd.net.au.
Have you ever wanted to look at the stars up close? Well, now you can. Station sponsor the Gravity Discovery Centre will open a whole new world of amazement for you. Located north of Perth, just off Indian Ocean Drive, the Gravity Discovery Centre has something for everyone, with a great range of attractions. Climb the Leaning Tower, explore the Cosmology Gallery, get up close in the Biodiversity Gallery, and Come take in the marvels of the Milky Way at the observatory. For more information, bookings and tickets, go to gravitycentre.com.au.
Opinions expressed on Carter's Corner are entirely independent of the opinions of Radio 89.7 FM's wise board, talented management and wonderful sponsors. Carter's Corner respects the right of each individual to hold and express an opinion unfettered by the shackles of political correctness and without fear of quivering in the quicksand of cancel culture. Radio is for entertainment, not censorship.
All right, Carter's Corner, we are back. Travis Carter here. We've got Jason from Medical Cannabis Research Australia. We've got Leslie, who is a recovered cancer sufferer, and not just a little bit of cancer, like she had hardcore cancer, and obviously Bass from the Health Australia party here. Now, during the break and during this conversation, God, Jason loves his chat. It's just hard to get a word in. We had a heap of questions come in, so I seriously think we might have a couple of minors listening in because there's a few funny ones here. Alcohol and wipe stops corona.
That's also true, yes. So it does have a medical use after all. I apologise.
Just not the corona.
I retract.
Does medical cannabis show up in urine testing, e.g. for minors?
There's a common misconception that medical cannabis means CBD only. There are two major components to medical cannabis, or cannabis. Let's just use the word cannabis, because medical cannabis is exactly the same thing. It's just prescribed. All right. So we have something called CBD oil. Now, there's lots of people out there selling that, and they're calling it medical cannabis. That's wrong. It's the wrong name, and it's just a marketing exercise. And I think it's quite a dangerous thing for people to be saying because it's a misnomer. And when it comes to anything to do with medicine, we need to be accurate.
Yes,
it's really important. So CBD oil is a form of medical cannabis. It is not medical cannabis. Okay? Medical cannabis can consist of any type of cannabis with any proportion of the normal ingredients. The two major ones, THC and CBD. Now, THC is the bit that gets you high, the psychoactive component. CBD is the bit that makes you relaxed and has something of a health benefit to it as well.
Yep.
Medical cannabis can come with THC. That's the one I take.
Which triggers drug tests.
Correct.
Yep.
Now, that does trigger the
I
drugs.
used to be a drug
but
and alcohol
people that
tester.
take only the CBD, the police don't actually even test for that. So if you're on CBD only, you still shouldn't be driving by the letter of the law, but they're not going to test you for it anyway.
So just a quick question now. That the medicinal cannabis that you take that contains THC, does it actually make you high?
Yes.
It does make you high?
Absolutely,
oh, wow.
yes. And depending on the quantity you take, and not only that, if I have a really fatty meal, say half an hour before I take my medicine, because the THC is fat soluble, my body will actually absorb that even more, and I'll get even more of a high out of it.
Oh, wow.
But what's wrong with that? You know, I get so much pain from my multiple sclerosis that maybe having a little bit of a nice experience and sitting on the couch and maybe eating a bag of Cheezels, there's nothing wrong with that.
Great side effect.
It's better than me drinking a six-pack of beer and then beating up my kids.
Sure.
You know, we've got to talk
that
about
was
relative...
the previous you before CBD oil.
Relative harms, you know, and this is a really important point to make.
Makes
People
sense.
can criticise this stuff all they want, but measure up what you're addicted to against this medicine, and there's no comparison.
What about mental health? Because some people are
You
concerned.
are absolutely right.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. People who have a predisposition towards certain types of psychoses or schizophrenia, or yes, they shouldn't be taking this. But you know what? They shouldn't be drinking either.
Of course, because alcohol has...
And that is why we talk about it on the medical side, so that it's supported and, I guess, watched closely by a doctor. So we're making sure that it's given to you in the right way, by the right people, for the right amount of time.
Leslie, you want to say something?
Yeah. It's actually great for PTSD and anxiety and stuff like that.
Sure
so
is.
it's not, it's great for that.
Yeah, but again, on balance, we do have to be conscious of the fact that it can affect people. But at the same time, that's not a reason not to use it.
Well, if you were going to use that, you've got to ban a drug because it could react with something else, or if you're in different situations. Aspirin,
Correct.
Panadol, Nurofen, all these other drugs
do you
all
want to
say,
really...
don't use this if you're on this.
You know, if they released Panadol today, I'm not going to call it Panadol, let's call it paracetamol.
Yeah.
If they released paracetamol today, it wouldn't be approved. Because if you pop down to the local shop and grab a packet of paracetamol off the shelf and you take that whole packet in one go...
You're dead.
And I drink my entire month's worth supply of cannabis oil in one go, in the morning... I'm going to come and visit you in hospital while you're dying of liver failure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have my twisties with me because I'll still be a little bit hungry.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realise this. Paracetamol as a painkiller is really, really powerful. And that's why they say
lethal.
Do not take more than 4 grams. So that's 8 tablets a day.
So let's talk about that. I mean, you know, one of the things that's not been talked about, it's completely alarming, is the rate of people that die from overdosing on painkillers, prescribed painkillers.
It's really interesting. I read a report a couple of years ago. Apparently, tramadol in the USA and a lot of the opioids were killing more people than heroin.
Yeah, and they were initially promoted as being non-addictive and safe.
I can tell you now, the opioids like tramadol, fentanyl, and a few of those other really bad ones, they are so addictive.
My big worry with all of these opioids is not even the side effects from taking them and abusing them. My big worry is people actually taking them as they're supposed to be taking them and actually having terrible side effects as well.
It's really interesting. They call it rates to harm, how many people are on a certain medication before it harms them. So, and we're not talking about major things. This is like causing headaches, other little rashes and things like that. The tramadol, paracetamol, Nurofen is another one, has really, really low. So, sorry, not many doses. When I say low, for, let's say, 20 people take tablets or whatever the medicine, quite a few will have some sort of reaction to it. And it's really amazing when you start asking for those figures. I can tell you now, the Australian Medical Association really don't want to give it out. And it's funny, you did talk about Andrew Miller earlier. When all the border closures and the mask wearing and all that came on, we asked him to come onto the show. And he's like, yeah, we'll come on the show. Then about 3 hours before the show, he cancelled on us. So we had to get another gentleman in. So,
let me throw one more little thought bubble at you. Now, at the moment, if you go into a particular medication, you can be relatively confident that it's relatively safe because there has research being done, you know. But if I was to take paracetamol and Lyrica, right, how many studies have been done about the interactions of those two? Okay, now I'm on paracetamol, Lyrica, and let's say a type of penicillin, amoxicillin. What studies have been done about the interactions between those 3 substances? Now, I was on 7 different medications on a daily basis. No research has ever been done about that particular combination of medicines that I was on. So how on earth can anybody say to me, oh, that's safer because it's 7 studied medicines than medical cannabis? I'm now on one medication plus medical cannabis, and there's thousands of studies to support the medical cannabis. I know which one I feel more confident about.
I know which one I support.
Which one has taken me from 6.5 on the disability scale back down to 3? Which one stopped me from getting into a wheelchair and let me throw away my walking stick?
I'm kind of jealous about that throwing away.
I've just pulled up a statistic from 2017. 800 Australians die per year from prescription drugs.
Doesn't surprise me.
And I'm sure that's a lot higher probably in 2020.
So in other words, what you're telling me is that prescriptions by doctors kill more people per year than what sharks do.
Well, even more than our road tolls.
You know what's even worse than both of that? And I'm going to throw this out, and I know there's a few guys out there that are going to start sharing for this one. Have a look how many men commit suicide between the ages of 14 to 55.
Oh, that's insane. I did personal research on that.
All those numbers. Anyway, so again, everything's in perspective. But yeah, when it comes out, and you also wonder how many of those guys are committing suicide because they're on antidepressants and all that sort of stuff, where they could be off those antidepressants on something a lot safer for their bodies and a lot mentally causes a lot more stability.
But wait for it from the researcher with a side effect to make you happy.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like for those people that go, oh, you're going through a divorce, we'll put you on an antidepressant. How about we go, right, you're going through a divorce, you're not really happy. Let's try and stabilise your hormones using something a little bit more healthier. So I'll be honest with you, I'm still on the fence over the medical cannabis side of things. I personally haven't experienced the things, but I'm seeing more and more evidence and I'm starting to climb off the fence. But on a finance side of things, I just think, it should be on the Medicare, what is it called? The
PBS.
PBS. Should be.
Part of the other good thing is that if we were to get it onto the PBS and the price was reduced, it would actually start throttling the black market and a lot of organised crime which sells this stuff as well that isn't necessarily grown in the healthiest way with growth hormones and who knows what in the fertilisers and whatnot. We can then start reducing the amount of people that feel that they have to go and get their cannabis from there.
Yeah.
And looking at it the other way, how much police resources and other resources in the community are wasted trying to govern that sort of stuff? Just put on the PBS, give everyone a license to grow it
How
properly
many people
and
are turned
safely.
into criminals as a result of this? How many kids have lost their dads or mums to jail because of this? How many families have lost their home because of this?
Why can't we just have a common sense approach to it? It's not killing people.
Ludicrous.
And it's part of nature. I mean, how
yeah,
much
but
more
so's
can
the
we harness
oleander
it?
flower, and we don't consume that.
Well, there's a
I don't know
garden.
anything about that one.
There's a garden in the UK where every single plant can kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a part of the Queen's
Kew
Buckingham
Gardens?
Palace.
Only in the UK.
Yeah. Anyway, on that one, after we were talking about how to have very dangerous... Sorry, I had to cut what I was about to say there. So, yeah, very, very interesting conversation. I'm really enjoying today's show so far. So, we do need to go to a message, and we do need to wrap it up here. We can go on forever, and I know Jason can go on forever.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we'll end this segment. When we come back, we're getting the president of One Nation on the phone, Rod Caddies. So he's actually going to be responding to a few questions put to him from Charles Smith, MLC, from the West Australian Party. So
From the last show.
From the last show. So it's really great to see both sides of each argument coming onto the show. And
Leslie.
again, Jason, Leslie.
You've been a delight.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Carter's Corner,
All right, then.
89.7 FM, and you can also watch it on Carter's Corner on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be right back shortly.
Maritinup and Kandoola, we've got you covered. 89.7.
All right, Carter's Corner back again. We're here with Bass from the Health Australia Party, and on the line, let's see if I didn't stuff this up, Rod Caddies, President of One Nation WA. Are you there?
Yeah, mate, I'm here. I can't hear you real well, but I can...
Yeah, it will clean itself up. It's something to do with the desk and the technology in the studio and all that sort of stuff. So you are live. Now, I have to say, first of all, thank you very much for answering the call to come onto the station. We've put a lot of call-outs for when people make stories or make statements about other people. Not many people have the courage to turn around and actually come onto the radio and discuss what's been spoken about them. So, first of all, thank you very much for coming on the station.
No problem at all, mate.
So, first of all, let's get into it. So, last week on this show, Charles Smith, the MLC from the Western Australia Party for the East Metro area, he did say some things that were not, and let's be honest, not very flattering towards One Nation.
Not very what, sorry?
Flattering. So, he did make a claim that him, yourself, and the Australian Christians had a three-way preference deal that yourself, he was saying yourself in particular, did not honour the deal. So, what's your thoughts on that, Rod?
Yeah, sort of. I guess that's probably a long way from the truth, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess what I'll indicate here was there was no deal between myself, Christians, and Charles at all.
Mm-hmm.
I initially spoke to Charles to offer him a fig leaf in regards to we had personal issues over the last few years, and being that I was the one doing most of the negotiations for preferencing, I put the olive branch out to sort of say to him, hey, I need to do the best thing I can for my candidate, so I'm prepared to talk to him and his party about preferencing. However, we had an initial conversation, and it turned out he was part of Glenn Drury's group, which is, you know, as people call him, the preference whisperer. So there's a deal made with a group of usually 6 people and 6 parties, and there's a group of parties that basically shop their ability to negotiate for preferencing out to someone else to do that sort of negotiating from. So for him to say that we had an agreement of any sort is not correct.
Yep. Okay.
And neither is it that he had it with the Christians.
Okay, so my understanding, I've done a bit of research on this. What was it, Glenn Drury? Or Greg Drury? So they charge, if you win a seat, you got to pay him $50,000 to do the negotiation for you. Now, this guy has also come onto the, he was interviewed by, I think it was ABC a couple of years ago, and he was saying that for the last 20 years he's been negotiating with parties to make sure One Nation loses.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do have actually Bass in the studio with us here as well. So he's been a part of the negotiation process. He's been talking to people about it. So do you think, as the person negotiated for One Nation, do you think it was fair to put Charlie under the Greens, which is Charlie's big concern?
I guess probably I always like to take responsibility for decisions in life that I make. The decision to put him under Greens was my doing. I probably took that one step too far, I guess, in putting him below the Greens. I don't believe putting him down the bottom was the wrong thing, but putting him below the Greens was probably, let's face it, no one should really go below the Greens really in life, I guess, because they're not great for our democracy, I don't believe, or great for our country. So, yeah, probably I'm happy to take a bit of flack for that. I wouldn't take any negativity about putting him down low because I don't believe he deserved to be any higher than near the bottom through his past experience. But, yeah, as far as going below the Greens, I probably took it maybe one step too far.
Okay.
And a little bit of our history came into play in that in my decision-making.
So do you think it was a personal decision that made you put him last?
It was touches of personal decision. Or was it my personal decision?
Yeah, was it
or was it a?
Did you make it as a personal decision to put him last? Because the number 2 ticket on the West Australian Party is a lot higher. I can't remember I think it's about 5 or 6 above Charles Smith. So your decision to put him last, do you think you did that for personal reasons or for the good of the party?
I think to put him down low, I did it for what I was doing in the negotiations. To put him last was a bit personal because of the amount of things he's done to myself and our party over the last 4 years. I didn't feel that he deserved to be anywhere. I was happy to put him down the bottom. Again, like I said, the argument is, should we be putting him below the Greens who, I don't think are good for our democracy, are good for the people of this country. So, yeah, I think there was like I said earlier, there's a percentage of personal unhappiness in what he's done over the last 4 years. So I don't feel he is worthy of being in our parliament representing the people of WA because of my personal experience with him. So, yes, it was a personal, there was a percentage of personal decision-making there on that part.
Okay, no worries. So I am going to throw it over to Bass to ask you a question. Bass, any questions for Rod Caddies from One Nation?
G'day, Rod. How you going?
Yeah, good, Bass.
It's good. I'm delighted. I've been invited again as a guest here. They haven't kicked me out yet. And I thought it's good that you're coming on and having a chance to have a chat and also represent your views, which I think is only fair based on last week's show. So it's good to have you on here.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Good on you. Is there anything with this election coming up so close and looming that you want to talk about or raise as a particular hot topic or something that you think that's worth sort of sharing with the community?
Well, I think probably our number one, and especially me being in a regional area, and as yourself, I know you're running in the agriculture region as well for us.
Yes.
More so than the city, but the city it holds a big, I guess, amount of, what would you say? I'm trying to think the right wording. It's quite dangerous for democracy for where we're sitting with Labor and how strong a following they got in the state because of the COVID issue in the country and around the world. They've been able to use that to create fear in our population and get a really good following and getting some popularity there. And the worrisome thing about that is that gives them the opportunity to gain power in both the lower and upper house. So for me, that's not good for democracy. You don't have any checks and balances. You have, whether it be myself, you, or any other small party that is there to hold them to account and to really scrutinise legislation that's coming through in the upper house. If they manage to get a really strong showing and win another seat or two in the upper house, that gives them full control to just rubber stamp things through, and there's no one that can really hold them to account on that if the population of WA doesn't vote accordingly and try to put some small parties in there to do that.
Okay. So you did make a very good point there about being checks and balances, especially against Labor, who looks like they're going to win this election in an absolute landslide. Do you think the Labor's decision to throw pretty much WA into a full lockdown for 40 days prior to the election. Do you think that was done purely for political purposes, or do you think there was actual genuine medical reasons for it?
Well, it's hard to, it doesn't matter where we speak now when you're talking on COVID. It's pretty hard not to say anything these days with people throwing out things as if you're some conspiracy theorist or crazy nutcase. Like, I believe there's a virus. I believe it's bad. I believe, there's, all good reasons for people to be fearful of not wanting to get sick, or if you're a senior, being even more worried about it. But, yeah, I think I don't believe that the decisions that have been getting made by the Labor government over these past 8 to 10 months, and including that lockdown, is justified. I don't believe that their medical advice is consistent. I think they make choices based more on what is good for them keeping power and being stronger politically than really about health. So I think, yes, there are health decisions made. However, I think it's sort of like a 50-50 spread there. They try to work in any way they can to make it a health issue, but we all know that there's a fair bit of politics involved in that.
Yeah, you're right. Last time I saw McGowan was actually in front of Parliament House, and I was in community TV back then, and I don't think he was at all as popular as he is now. So I wonder if COVID-19 has had a role to play in the popularity.
I personally was looking at his pages, and obviously I've been working in Parliament now for the last 4 years nearly, because I started with our leader, Colin Tinknell, and as a elected officer there. So I've been working in Parliament. So I was actually looking at a lot of stuff they were doing prior to COVID and keeping an eye on it all. And his popularity was very low. I was looking at his Facebook page and everything. He used to get like 3 or 4 comments, 6 or 7 at the most, prior to COVID. And he had, the followers actually, there was nothing positive that used to get written on there. So, but all of a sudden COVID come, and then he's getting hundreds of comments and thousands of likes, and his page has exploded, and, he's become Mr. Popularity. But they were saying he was rating really low. He introduced taxes, which he said he wouldn't do. He increased power prices, increased water prices, he increased, registrations for vehicles, increased water rate. There was just so many things the Labor Party were doing. They broke promises straight away not to put power prices up. So there were so many things there for people to be not happy with Labor for. They hadn't laid a piece of rail of all their net promises. They hadn't done any of that. So they actually hadn't stepped up and done anything what they said in their promises. So, yeah, he was nothing even close to Mr. Popularity back then. So COVID brought him a world of joy.
Okay, well, one of the things I do want to do is, because obviously we do have the request line on 0418 897 897, we have had a text message come in saying, will Rod admit that he regrets putting Charles dead last? So from the viewer who's listening in, thank you for the question. So, Rod, do you regret
Will I
putting
admit
him
what,
last?
sorry?
No, do you regret putting him last?
Oh, yes, like I said, I think whether you use that word regret, sometimes you make decisions in life that probably if you were given that choice again, you may not make that same decision. So would I say I regret it? I wouldn't probably say I regret it. I would say give another chance in life to rethink whether I'd make that same decision. Probably not. Like I said, I may have taken that one step further than I probably should have, in my view, looking back at things now.
And we have
but my view is still no different of Charles. I still don't think very highly of him. I don't believe he is someone that is worthy of being there through my personal experience in my dealings with him over this 4 years, in how he's treated me, how he's treated our leader of the party, how he operated within our party. So for me, my personal experience has I guess, positioned me into making my decisions.
Okay.
And, yes, like I said, I don't have regrets in life. I own every decision I make.
Yep.
But what I will say is sometimes the decisions I make aren't always the ones I would make given another opportunity.
Okay, so with the text line, we do have another question coming through. Where are we, Huey? Handling of So they're asking, sorry, there's a bit of a jumble. I'll go and try and sort my way through it. So they're asking for us to ask you about the Liberal Party and their decision to do a total backflip and become pretty much the Greens Party in their decision to, we quoted it last week on the show, cancel coal in Collie. Is that something that One Nation supports of the closing of the coal mine, or is that something that, if you guys do get into power, is that something you're going to fight to preserve mining in the regional areas of WA?
Oh, definitely. We're completely against, the whole thing in life is, decreasing power increases productivity. And when you increase productivity in life, you increase wealth for the people. So, to take away coal and to start to do things like shutting down coal-fired power stations, we aren't ready for that in this country. And we're selling off all that coal to other countries, which is actually giving them very cheap power. And so they're able to create things, manufacture things in competition to our country at a very cheap price. We're supplying them that coal to do that. So if we're going to export our coal, these parties aren't saying anything about that. They're not really jumping up and down hugely about that because we're making huge money. Mm-hmm. But they want to shut down coal-fired power stations, which increases power. We see in South Australia and Victoria and stuff, South Australian power prices are probably the highest in the country since coming into trying to rely too much on renewable energy. So, no, we're in complete opposition to shutting Collie down. We've been trying to fight for Collie to try to make sure that they have the best possible scenario they can in the future. So, it's all well and good having renewable policies, but you look at anywhere around the world, when you look at Germany, France, China, they're all the places that create power with coal and that have it a lot cheaper. Germany and that, they went to renewables and all their power prices went up. So these countries that have gone to all renewables, a lot of renewables, you look at it, their power price go up, productivity goes down, cost of power determines that. So, no, definitely not. We're against that policy of the Liberals. One Nation wouldn't be supportive of that.
Rod, while we're on the opposition, what do you think their stance has been with this whole COVID-19 thing? They haven't really been opposing the border lockdowns. They haven't really interjected on some of these things that Labor's doing. Why is that?
I guess for any smart person, when you look at I guess what wording would be used. COVID was like a hot potato for people. They found that anyone, I've seen it. The moment you spoke about COVID and shutting the borders or actually opening the borders, you were targeted. You were basted with this brush that you were some loony that wanted to kill everybody. So I think Liberals, like most smart people, look at the whole marketing side and go, this is losing us votes. If we can't continue to go down that line because Labor have too much money, power, being in government, they've got all the money behind them, they've got the marketing ability, they've got people employed in their government to sell a message to the people that be fearful, COVID is going to kill you and we're protecting you. So anyone that comes out against what they're doing, you're treated as some leper. You're this crazy conspiracy theorist,
which is exactly their campaign. It's exactly their campaign against the Liberals at the moment. They're saying, if it was up to them, they would have opened the border and you'd be all dead.
All right, so
so that's why when they were going strong on the border thing, when at the beginning when people and we had a bit of it in our own party, and I think that contributed a little bit to our demise in Queensland. The border thing. We have a large, our average age of supporters for our One Nation Party is quite an old age. We're starting to look at ways to target younger voters to come to our party, and the problem, when you've got a lot of older people, a lot of seniors, and they're fearful. They're being sold this whole fear thing that if you don't have Mark McGowan protecting you, and the same as in Queensland, they did it. They've done it all over the country. Is that if you don't have these governments shutting the borders down and protecting you, you're in big danger and you might die. So if anyone who steps up and tries to open these borders and makes these people think, I can't vote for them because it's this big fear of COVID killing them is bigger than bigger than their love for the party or their support for the party.
Okay, so we do need to wrap it up there because we're 6 minutes over for our next lot of messages. So, Rod Caddies, I have to say, very big thank you for coming on, especially after Charles Smith, MLC from WA Party, did throw that challenge out to you. So, just to be confirmed for all the listeners out there, what seat are you running in at the next federal election?
Yeah, I'm number one on the ticket for the agricultural region, so I'm actually out in Geraldton at the moment. I've just been down to Lake King, Lake Grace, Wazen, Canning, Narrogin, and now I've headed up the coast and I'm in Geraldton now and here for the week and then down to Esperance next week. So.
Fantastic. So I do need to cut you off there because we are on a time frame. Good luck with the campaign and thank you very much for coming on to the show.
All the best, Rod.
No worries.
All right,
cheers for having us, guys.
No worries. This is Carter's Corner with Travis and Bass, and that was Rod Caddies, the president of One Nation WA and the candidate for the agriculture region. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Thanks, Australia, for doing your bit to help stop the spread of coronavirus, for downloading the COVID Safe app, for keeping your distance and staying at home, for the sacrifices you've made, and for stepping up in these tough times. The changes aren't easy, but they are working. So keep going. And don't forget, if you haven't already, download the COVID Safe app today. Visit australia.gov.au to learn more. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Does your internet blow more than the Freo Doctor? Download slower than merging on the Mitchell? Connection more up and down than a gym buff at Jacob's Ladder? Say goodbye to buffering and hello to Pentinet's Perth-powered internet. We're bringing Perth's internet up to speed because we live here too. For super fast, reliable fixed wireless, NBN and LBN fibre internet, get online now with Pentinet, your local Perth internet provider. Head to pentinet.com.au and check your address to see if you qualify.
Proud station sponsor.
Are you busy planning the entertainment for your next function? Maybe it's a wedding, a corporate event or even a party. Then you need to talk to station sponsor Off the Wall Promotions. Off the Wall can provide DJ and MC services, live music and photo booths. They can even live stream your event to anywhere in the world. Operating from Yanchep to Mandurah, Off the Wall Promotions is your total entertainment specialist. Simply search the socials for Off the Wall Promotions or check out their website.
Oi, Karen. Yes, Stephen. We've been told we need to promote our show, so you got to sell it to me, baby. We actually got a 5-star review the other day saying we're surprisingly listenable. Did we really? No.
Stephen and Kerrod live on Monday nights from 8 on 89.7.
It is possible to stop using drugs.
We can help.
Call Narcotics Anonymous 1300 652 820.
Or look us up on the web, na.org.au.
We're now changing the guard a bit. We've now got Mark, who is the independent candidate for the South Metro region. Welcome to the studio, Mark. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Happy to be here.
So fantastic. Levels nearly perfect straight off the bat.
Brilliant.
And obviously Bass is still here again. His smooth soul voice is just
Hello.
keeping everyone well behaved, actually. I think I was a little bit worried about today's show.
Well, I bring in good energy, Travis, and usually people say I'm the pacifier. I'm the guy that comes into places and people just feel at ease and calm. It's in my nature. So, Mark?
So he brings the zen.
Yeah, I bring the zen. I mean, it's in my nature.
He brings the bass.
The bass.
Get it? Playing words. Hey. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Mark, we're here today. So
yeah,
we have had One Nation in here. We had the leader of the party.
On the phone?
Obviously on the phone. Sorry, thank you, Bass.
You're welcome, sir.
So last week we did have Charles Smith in the studio. He did make a few allegations and stuff like that. Now, as a lot of people who follow you on your Facebook are aware, you did actually put your hand up originally for One Nation.
I certainly did.
Yep. And so you did a bit of a video, and because the process was so long, drawn out, you actually decided to run as an independent. Now, how's the response from the community been about that for your decision to run as an independent rather than a One Nation candidate?
I think in general the response has been quite good, because even in my video I did explain my positioning. I didn't diss the party. I didn't name any names. I honestly just spoke of my experience and outlined why strategically in the end I decided to make the move as well. And I think a lot of it came down to the fact that had I stuck with the One Nation endorsement, I would have been quite limited, because I would have been limited to running in one electorate only. And there were certain subjects, I mean, I was very outspoken from sort of like mid last year on a lot of this COVID stuff.
I seem to know another red-headed lady that's very outspoken as well.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And when you look at it, I mean, you know, One Nation's moniker is that, you know, we have the guts to say what you're thinking. Well, I am really one of those people.
And just so you guys know, I do follow his page, and nothing is off the limits with Mark here. Like, it's actually a really entertaining page. Some of the memes he sent through are absolute golden. So
I'm dying to check it out. But before I check it out, Mark, tell us, so what is your passion? Why are you doing this? Why are you running in politics when you know politics is a game that is dirty and is very much like a circus?
It's because, really, it's in my blood.
Right.
I mean, I was a latecomer to it. In 2015, I sort of had my awakening, you know, to political shenanigans and the tactics of the media. And I would say that my main driving force at the moment is really defence of the truth, because there's so much subversion going on and gaslighting.
From the media, do you think?
From the media, from government too.
Right.
Because I've been an online conservative running groups and pages for over 5 years. And as a result of sort of running these pages, because you're feeding the articles to the members in your group, or the other members are putting articles in the group as well, you are very informed as a result of that. And you're also addressing, you know, your responsibility in keeping the members engaged. And to do that, you have to do it, as Travis says, with memes, with information, with interesting articles. And it's these are techniques I've essentially honed over the last 5 years. So me starting my page wasn't really an issue. Yes, it was a gamble, but I knew that I had a message to put out there, and I knew I had the means to do it.
Okay.
And that's really, you know, why my page is there.
For the people listening in on the show, what is your page? If they want to find you on social media, because Facebook is notorious for blocking, especially conservatives, making them really, really hard to find, how will they find your page so they can enjoy the memes you're putting out?
And the information. You know, I'm not really a ham and egger, because I've done myself lots of research. I've got like an iPad at the moment, just jam full of information, links, photos, memes. So I'm not one of these people, you know, what would I say? I'm not a Dumbo.
Okay.
But my page itself is called Mark's Real Talk and Discussion WA.
Fantastic. So we will be linking it in the video for this one. So Dwayne, if you can chuck it on the feed for us, that'd be awesome. So from here, so one of the big things I've noticed, especially with this election, there's been talk about the border closures, masks, whether it's safe to wear or not, obviously the vaccines, the choice to get the vaccine or not, and then also you do have certain people who are just flat out anti-vaccination people. So one of the questions that we're trying to ask most of the people that come in, are you familiar with Section 158 of the Health Act for Australia, for WA?
Yes, quite familiar.
Yep. So you were at the rally on the weekend as well?
I was at the rally. I spoke at the rally. I actually noticed Section 158 back in sort of April, May last year. And on my own personal timeline, I put up screenshots of this just to sort of alert people to the fact that, you know, under these conditions, there are these measures in place that we should all be aware of, because we can't be completely asleep on this. And the funny thing is, at that point, because we were coming out of our own lockdown here in Perth, it was largely ignored at that point. And then later on, I went to one of the freedom rallies. I bumped into Cam Tinley, who you've had on your show a couple of times.
He's been on a few times.
And I didn't quite sort of cotton on to what he was about at that point, but then I saw a couple of posts of his on Facebook mentioning Section 158, and my instant reaction was, well, he's talking about the same thing I brought up maybe a couple of months back, and he's starting a party and I want to help him. So I think at that point he was sat at about maybe 200-300 members, and he was trying to break the 500.
Yep.
So I got in touch with him, and then helped him, sort of directed his offsider to a couple of groups and pages where they could possibly plug the page. I did myself as well, because I had faith in what he was doing, based on even my own observations. And we've been friends since. And he's been fully aware of what I'm doing as well with my page.
And
so why didn't you join his party instead of running as an
Well,
independent?
it's the same deal.
Yeah.
Same deal, really.
I can answer that one for
Go
you.
on.
If you're a member of one party, you can't join another one as a candidate.
Is that what's happened?
But I wasn't.
Yeah. So if you were a One Nation member at the time, which you have to be a One Nation candidate, you can't run for another party. You can only be a member of one party at a time. So,
Okay. Well, I'm interested. What happened in your case?
in my case...
Yeah. Were you a One Nation member at the time when Cam was starting to build his?
Well, I was at that point sort of stewing on my decision.
Okay.
You know, like Cam was well aware that I had, a pending endorsement with One Nation. It hadn't sort of quite happened at that point, but we were already talking.
You're in the process of fantastic. Yeah. Now, I have to say, to give kudos to Cam, he also spoke out the weekend rally, and it's really fascinating. I'll get to this one in a minute about the media, gaslighting and all that sort of stuff. Really interesting difference, and I have to give credit to Channel 7 here. I've bagged them out a lot in the past couple of shows, but Rory did a really good job covering that one. At no point did he try and push an agenda. The fact that we followed him with a microphone probably had something to do with it as well. But then you have a look at 6PR saying that was an anti-vaxxers rally and making all these other allegations. It's just terrible. So Cam, at last I heard he's like 4,000 members or something, and they're expecting to have 8,000 by the time the election comes around.
But what he's done with that party is amazing. I mean, he's put lots of his own personal time, money, and commitment into this. And I mean, to me, personally, when I sort of hear things about, I see the Liberal Party calling his party an anti-vax party.
Which is a lie, because it's not.
It's an absolute lie, because they're a pro-choice party. And even labelling, saying things that Cam might have said, that vaccinations are satanic, which I've never heard him say. I'm not aware of that whatsoever. And I speak to Cam, and Cam himself actually denies this. And I even said to him at the time, I said, you should really put out like a media release of your own to counter this slander, because that's really what it is.
One thing I've been noticing quite lately, especially with the Liberal Party, it seems to be that they're going through this massive purge of any Conservatives at the moment. And this isn't just WA as well. So,
well, he's one of their own. I mean, he's still a member, isn't he, of the Young Liberals?
He's apparently he's still the president of the Young Liberals.
Right.
So,
who's this?
Cam Tinley. He's president.
Okay.
So, and the Young Liberals aren't considered a political party, but they're associated with the Liberal Party. So even going as far with Craig Kelly from the Federal Liberal Party is now being kicked out because he's dared express some of these concerns that the community is saying.
Well, he resigned, hasn't he?
Would have been under pressure, that's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, Craig was disappeared off Facebook for a little while. Then there was articles, circulating that he was on a 10-day Facebook ban.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but he actually hadn't posted since like the 8th of February.
From Facebook jail to retiring from the Libs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I even made this observation even on my page. It's like, okay, he was on a 10-day ban. Sounds like it's gone farther than that. And maybe his boss has silenced him. And I think Craig's move today to resign.
It's a brave move.
Brave, but brilliant move, and I think it needed to happen.
It'd be good to see him either become an independent or join one of the smaller parties where he can align some of his, vocal solutions that he presents.
Not just that, it's also the experience behind him, because he's been in politics for a long time, so he knows the game inside out.
And his factual evidence.
And like everything else today, he's got people that are for him and people that are completely against him just because everybody's split.
So what we do need to do, we're 5 minutes past, so we do need to go to a message. I'm just checking the system, make sure we're up to date. So we do need to go to a quick message. I want you to stick around because we're having a really good chat with you, Mark. So just stick around for a bit and just want to talk more about what the Liberal Party is doing and possibly anything else you've noticed coming up. So this is Carter's Corner. We've got Travis Carter from 897. We've got Bass from the Health Australia Party and Mark, who is the independent for the South Metro region in the Upper House. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Stay in the loop with what's happening in your community. Visit station sponsor City of Joondalup's website at joondalup.wa.gov.au and subscribe to an e-newsletter. You'll find everything you need to know about community, events, updates and job vacancies. Register today for this free service.
Oi, Karen. Yes, Stephen. We've been told we need to promote our show, so you got to sell it to me, baby. We actually got a 5-star review the other day saying we're surprisingly listenable. Did we really? No.
Stephen and Kerrod live on Monday nights from 8 on 89.7.
Is your internet slower than the Kwinana before a long weekend? Do you get more foreign correspondence than Julie Bishop when you need tech support? Say hello to Pentanet. We're bringing Perth's internet up to speed because we live here too. 120 megabit per second download speeds, unlimited data and month-to-month plans available. It's super fast, reliable internet with local support from real Perth people. Head to pentanet.com.au and check your address to see if you qualify.
Proud station sponsor.
Have you ever wanted to look at the stars up close? Well, now you can. Station sponsor the Gravity Discovery Centre will open a whole new world of amazement for you. Located north of Perth, just off Indian Ocean Drive, the Gravity Discovery Centre has something for everyone, with a great range of attractions. Climb the Leaning Tower, explore the Cosmology Gallery, get up close in the Biodiversity Gallery, and take in the marvels of the Milky Way at the Observatory. For more information, bookings and tickets, go to gravitycentre.com.au.
The following program may contain coarse language. Listener discretion is advised.
Carter's Corner, Travis Carter here. We've got Bass Tadros.
Nicely said.
Yeah, well said. I can't roll my R's.
Tadros. You said it perfectly. Yeah.
Health Australia Party, running for the agricultural region this election. So if you're in the agricultural region, make sure you put your minor parties first. And in the South Metro region, so we're going from you still go all around the metro area, don't you? Because it's all the way down to Esperance.
So, you asked me this on the first time I was on this show, and I answered it, but I reckon you were distracted by some of the buttons here. Now that you're like a pilot. There's so many buttons here in the cockpit of this station. So my region is actually bigger than the state of Victoria, and it runs from Esperance all the way through the wheat belt and all the way up north of Geraldton, above Kalbarri. Around Kalbarri is sort of where it ends. So it's a major region, and it's only got about 100,000 people living there.
It's a little scary considering Perth's got like 2 million.
Yeah, that's right. And so we've got quite a few candidates running in that region. One of them, which I just wish the best for, which was Rod Caddies. Look, I want to play a whole new, different ball game with politics.
He's your competitor. Right?
He's my competitor. I'm happy to shake hands and wish them all the best, because that's the kind of future I want to see in politics, where people actually talk praise about people that are running against them, rather than try and talk them down or put them down. I think
unlike that's American politics.
Well, that's dirty, and we've all seen it. We've all had enough of it. I think it's a circus that just seems to go on forever. And they put people down to make themselves feel better.
Yeah. I agree. Now, in my intro, which we got distracted with, we also have in the studio here Mark Rowley.
Nicely done.
I keep butchering everyone's name, and so that's why I wasn't using
You're
his
on
name.
a roll. You're doing really well.
So Mark Rowley is running the South Metro region as a independent. Now, one of the things we were just talking off air then for a minute there was about the impact that Mark's having on the social media side of things. So I can't walk properly, so I do spend a lot of time on social media. And one of the things I've noticed is you have a look at all the majors, and I'm talking, if you go have a look at including the sitting members of Parliament, besides Mark McGowan and the ministers, the normal everyday members of Parliament, they've only got like 400, 500, 700 followers. What are you up to now, 1,600?
Close to 1,700
followers. So, and you're an independent. Now, if we take that into context,
and I've only been running since towards the end of December.
And your page isn't that new, isn't that old? It's still
right.
So you're having a huge impact, social media wise. Do you think the social media, having a social media campaign, is going to be boots on the ground, handing out flyers out how to vote, the pre-polling, knocking on doors, handing out flyers, kissing babies and all that sort of stuff. Do you think we're getting, especially now that we're in a COVID era, do you think the regular, normal campaigning where you do knock on people's door is over?
I wouldn't say that, but I do feel that social media has a larger role to play. It's a lot of what I've sort of based my page on and my strategy on. But at the same time, what we're sort of pre-polling, we started that today, did we? Pre-polling?
Tomorrow is when the early voting centres open up
that's right.
around the state. And it's something to look out for because I think people will be looking at those early voting booths rather than trying to wait till the 13th of March, which is the elections day.
Listening to a podcast and the presenters on it were saying that normally it's about 30% pre-poll happen prior, you're working, you're away, you're travelling, whatever. Sure. Because of COVID, they estimate anywhere between 50 to 60% of people will actually pre-poll. Yeah. And I can honestly say I'm a pre-poller because with my disabilities, I don't like being in big crowds, so I pre-poll.
You want to avoid the crowds, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't like
That's
crowds.
Interesting, yeah, because apart from my page, I'd been looking at, maybe setting up a table at a polling station for pre-poll and having flyers and that sort of thing, some literature there, although at this point I don't have any because I'm a one-man band, essentially. So I sort of finance and put in all my own work. I don't have donors.
Okay.
Although it would be nice, but
let's talk about your inspirations. Like, why are you doing this as an independent? I know you're a truth seeker, and that's what you're sharing on your page. What's one of the main things that you'd like to get into politics and see make a change?
I would like to get into politics and really speak for the people and bring things back into balance.
Nice.
We have gone way out of control when it comes to to lots of things. I could sort of go into everything, but everything is out of whack. Common sense has gone out of the window. Balance, informed decisions. There's too many political agendas and self-serving members of various parliaments have crept in. And we've got people at all levels within the media, government and government institutions that are really batting on the wrong side of the table.
Okay, you did bring up the media then, and there's a very, very interesting report. I don't know if it was a report or an article that came out. Dwayne, the producer, was telling me about it. And so you know how the vaccine rollout is started. And there's a picture of Scott Morrison. To me, it looks like he's still got the cap on. He's pulled I think it was the Queensland Premier did it as well. Gladys.
Was he in New South Wales or in Queensland at that time?
I thought it was Gladys that did it, left the cap on, and they pretended to give her the vaccine.
I think it was Anastasia.
Oh, it was one of them. One of those over east, so you need a passport to go over there at the moment. But then there's a picture of Scott Morrison. Same thing, but the needle had an orange cap on it. And my understanding is that's for people with that inject insulin.
It's a smaller gauge,
yeah. So, but the thing is, apparently, all the cameras that recorded that, not one of them was actually from the media. They were all the government ones. Because I don't know if you guys know this or not. We've actually been following around the different protests. We're streaming live the protests because constantly these things, the media is trying to put their own narrative on it. Another prime example was the press conference for Andrea, who was a Liberal candidate, got expelled from the party because she dared write an opinion piece, and then so now she's also running as an independent. So the media is very, very behaving badly, and now we have this.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. So is there a way that you would like to? I don't want to say legislate because there's not quite right. What do you think you can do to start improving that? Because you're a truth seeker, you want things to get out there. One of the things that happened is that used to be the anti-monopoly laws in media. You weren't allowed to have print, radio and TV. But they changed. I'm pretty sure that was the Labor government that changed it. So that means Terry Stokes got to buy a vast majority of the media over in WA. Is that something you'd be looking to repel as an independent if you do get voted in?
In terms of bringing balance back to the opinion? Yeah, well, I'd certainly want to have to bring real journalism back instead of having journalists that are essentially political activists, and bringing back things into balance between, I think either left or right. Both sides of the equation have their place. I'm not one for cancel culture or snuffing people out, but I think we need to have like a balance of debate and not have the media dominated by the left side of the message.
Yeah, we've certainly seen a lot of changes in the last year. Freedom of speech is out the window.
Well, we never had it.
Right.
Yeah. It was implied. It was never actually
Or at
legislated.
least the idea of it is now more apparent that it's out the window. We've had people silenced. Like, we've actually had doctors and researchers and scientists who have spoken out against the common narrative.
Dr. Julie Wileman is Wileman is a prime example of that. Where
she's a PhD in this very topic, and every man and his dog's allowed to have an opinion except her, which is terrible.
She's got really interesting story about what they did with her PhD, because my understanding is it was originally a doctorate in medicine. Yes. And then they changed it to the arts.
That's right. Yeah.
So to try and silence her, they changed her PhD, even though her PhD was purely based on
she'd be a great one for this show if we haven't had her yet.
We have had her on it before.
Oh, you have
I mean, every time she speaks at these rallies, I mean, you can tell that this person has like a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. So, a lot of experience. Yeah.
Very intelligent woman, that one.
Yeah.
So now the mic is, I'll open it up to you to say anything else you want to, because I just noticed the time, and we do need to go to some more messages from our sponsors. So, Mark, it's been phenomenal having on you. The mic is yours. Unload. Anything else you want to promote, push your website, your Facebook page, or do a shout out for volunteers. Now's a good chance. So, if they do need to get a hold of you, if they want to volunteer for you in the South Metro region,
I think a lot of people on my page already know what I'm about, and I've had offers of volunteers, and they're a really good bunch, and a few of my followers are also from Victoria. They're from Brisbane, some from Sydney. And the Victorians have really been supporting my page in the comments, because let's face it, they've been through what the Victorians went through, particularly last year.
Yeah.
So my page has become like a repository of information, but it's also a booster in terms of encouragement of the public voice too. So I think it's serving its purpose on a number of levels, but. All I would say to people is come and visit my page, see what I do, and I think you'll actually see the real me, and hopefully you'll have heard the real me after tonight's interview as well. And I really appreciate being on your show, Travis.
Not a problem.
To have a voice.
Yep.
We wish you all the best with your campaign.
Thank you very much.
So enjoy. We're going to go to a quick message and a song, and then we are going to have another candidate from the East Metro region this time, so we're definitely jumping around today. So Mick, I always butcher. I'm terrible with names. Again,
we'll stick with his first name.
I'll let Mick actually pronounce it, because it's actually a really funky name, so I really like it. So Mick's going to come in after these messages, and then we'll continue. So Mark, great luck with the election. Keep your head up.
Much.
All the best.
Giving the media hell, because it's just fun.
Well, keep exposing truth.
Yeah. They give us plenty of material to go at.
It's endless. So enjoy, have a great time with the election. I really do wish you well. So
thank you very much.
This is Carter's Corner. Travis Carter, Bass, and Mark Rowley from the South Metro Upper House candidate as an independent.
Thank you.
A Wanneroo City community announcement. The Australian War Memorials for Country for Nation exhibition honours the contribution and service of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples in our Anzac forces. Through art, object, dance and music, we honour their stories and their sacrifice. Exhibiting at the Wanneroo Gallery from the 17th of February until the 27th of March. Head to wanneroo.wa.gov.au/forcountryfornation to find out more.
The average person spends 44 minutes a day thinking about food. At Oz Harvest, thinking about food is a full-time job, because we're always looking for new ways to nourish our country and combat food waste and hunger. Every day, we rescue quality surplus food across Australia and deliver it to those who'd otherwise go hungry. And you can help. Every dollar donated to Oz Harvest can provide 2 meals to people in need. Visit ozharvest.org. Thought for food.
Oh, sex there. No. So we're on to our next round of guests today. It's been... This is purely by accident, by the way. It's been a very orange show today. So we've had a lot of people who are either in One Nation, former One Nations, or responding to insults to One Nation. That was a total accident. So we do have Mick Mabood.
Michael Mabood, yes.
Mabood. So we've got Michael Mabood. We've got Michael Darby in here as well to help us out. And then obviously we've got Bass from the Health Australia Party and Travis
Changing my name to Michael. You just want to fit in. Come on, Travis.
I'm feeling left out as well. Why don't we all just be Michael for this segment? Yeah. So
the 4 M's.
Wow, we're losing control of these guys.
Let's take it all the way to Michael Mabood on the yellow mic. And Michael, you're running for One Nation in the East Metro.
Correct, Mirrabooka area.
Yep. Now I am picking up an accent, and where are you from?
I'm Iranian born.
Iranian born. How awesome is that? So I
Beautiful
just think
country.
it's phenomenal. And this is one of the things I really like about Australia. It doesn't matter where you're born. You can still run for parliament. You can still have influence on what's going on in the country. And because a lot of the people who do come into the country, they've got some horrific stories, and others just came here because it's a better lifestyle. So I have to ask, why did you decide One Nation, especially being Iranian born with the so-called rumours around the racism and all that sort of stuff? Why One Nation?
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting that question a lot. People wonder why a refugee, or I'm not a refugee. I came as a skilled migrant. I'm an engineer and a project manager. So anyway, I came under a skilled migrant scheme and soon become Australian citizen. And yeah, people ask me why you joined One Nation, because they are not supporting people coming from overseas. And I'm saying, no, that's not the case, actually. If you come to our meetings, there are many people who are originally from overseas. So there is no such a discrimination in One Nation as far as I've seen. And I don't think that's the case, because otherwise nobody should be in the parliament. Everybody is migrant here.
Oh, a very, very large amount of us are migrants. So definitely. So again, why One Nation? Like, what was the deciding factor? Why did you decide, yep, you know what, I'm going to put my hand up. Let's do this. Let's put my face on all these placards and on the websites and all over the media, take all the abuse out there, because let's be honest, Australian politics is pretty dirty. What made you decide to take that step from being like a volunteer, supporter, a helper, and actually become a candidate?
Yes, thanks for repeating that part of the question, which I missed to answer. Yes, well, I've been living here for some years, and I've seen the shows being put up by other parties, the major parties, especially Labour and Green Party, which by the way, I voted the Green Party when they came into the picture some years ago, and because they had some good fancy words and talking about the clean environment and the clean energy and stuff like that. But then, well, you can, you could kind of get a bit of interest in you because of what they say, but then you look at the practices and what they do in action and how they are basically fitting into the world politics and whom they are associated with. And then you look at the hypocrisy in what they say. And so One Nation was kind of easy choice for me, because I've been into the family court, and I have a good understanding about the family law as much as a person. I'm not a lawyer, but I've been reading it, and I looked at basically the bench book being written for the family court, and I have 2 children, and I'm still going through the court after 3 years. I haven't seen them. Am I a criminal or what? But anyway, so. Without the crime, I've become a criminal just at the drop of a hat. And that law was made by Julian Gillard's party, which was Labour.
Labour Party, yep.
2011, 2012. And she was just rammed that bill through the parliament by creating some stories and fake stories, really, and like painting pictures of women being abused in this country. That's not the case in Australia. It's totally not. If you're out there, if you're living in this country, I don't see women being really disadvantaged. You just walk into any university, you see more girls studying than men. So how is that possible that she's just getting there and talking about misogyny, which is incorrect? And then also Green Party. Anyway, so I had so many policies that One Nation has introduced, and they were all aligned with what I was believed in. Like we want Australia to be a nation of independent rather than being consumers. As you can see, sellouts are happening, supported by Labor and Green. So I can go on for long.
Matt,
So yes,
so it's really, you said a few things that were very interesting there. So Julie Gillard pushed through the bill for the Family Law Court. So there's a lot of amendments that she did.
Yes.
So that does really show the importance of having a balanced parliament. So what I mean by balance is making sure that the checks and balances are in place, that make sure that no party has control of both the lower house and the upper house. So especially coming into the the state election, so it's really important. Again, and I've harped on about this in the show. Put your minor parties first. Get the balance in there. So especially with the minor parties, vote for them first because it takes money away from the majors, so it reduces the levels off the playing field, and also gives people like yourself a chance to actually get their point across, get their story across, and that's a big thing why this this radio station was created.
Well, it brings some balance, doesn't it, Travis? So rather than having, obviously no smaller party or independents if they're going to run in government and be the premier or the actual minister of anything or anything like that.
Guess
but
just whom lobbyists live with. They go about these major parties.
Yeah, the selling out of the government.
Exactly.
Things like that. So, and it's funny, you did talk about the minor parties, Bass, about no minor parties was meant to form government. But I'm going to bring Michael Darby into this one now. So in your opinion, should the major parties ever be power, or should it be just like a whole heap of little parties representing all the different groups within society and then having, and you've said it before on this show, having a group of independents all winning seats across the board, and then the independent people all decide, right, we've got a lot of faith in this person, you become the premier of the state.
But it would be a wonderful dream for Western Australia if the lower house had a majority representing half a dozen or perhaps even more independents and small parties. And then when the Parliament sits, the first meeting of the Legislative Assembly, someone can get up and say to Madam Speaker, I believe I can form a majority in this House. And if that is indeed proven by the vote, then off goes the Premier-elect to the Governor, say, Your Excellency, I can form a majority. I have the confidence of the lower house of Parliament, and the Governor says, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Premier." That's how, or Madam Premier.
Then we'll see a real change.
That would be a wonderful dream. I regret it's not going to be achieved in this election.
No, definitely.
But I just want to take a moment to congratulate Michael on making the shift from having once voted for the Greens. Now, what we need is not just more mechanical engineers like Michael, but we also need everybody who has been in the Greens and has shaken off that affliction and adapted to common sense and intelligence and is now supporting a minor party. But let's all accept the fact that the Liberal Party has not just shot itself in the foot, it's shot itself through both temples as well. And the Liberal Party cannot be saved. But what is critically important is to prevent the Labor Party from gaining total control of Western Australia through controlling the upper house as well. Make no mistake, that is the McGowan plan. And the McGowan plan is to abolish 3 of the rural regions and combine them into one, so that there's only one non-metropolitan region and 3 metropolitan regions together, making 4, with 9 representatives each in the upper house, the same total of 36, except that country representatives will be slashed from 18 to 9.
Yep, so they get a lot less votes in the upper house, so there's a lot less checks and balances.
Exactly. So we but at all. So
that's your region.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is dangerous because this is where we go from democracy to dictatorship when things like this start to happen, because there's no more balance, which we all want, we all love. The reason someone like Michael Mabood here, who came from Iran to a better country, better life, the same reason as why my parents migrated here when I was a child from Egypt to come to Australia, is we value the Australian way of life. You can hear it in my voice. I've adapted. I've become Australian. I'm sure Michael has been adapting since the time he's come here as well. And the key thing is, we all love the fairness and the way of Australian living, and we could stand to lose that if we don't vote accurately or correctly.
Yes.
And then, you know, if we kiss democracy goodbye, then we'll kiss the Australian way of life goodbye as well.
Exactly, and we don't want to see what has happened to our country happening here.
We've both seen that devastation, haven't we? Firsthand.
Yes,
exactly. Of being under a dictatorship or under some sort of regime that wants to run things a certain way. We're currently under the Labor regime. Actually, Michael Darby, you've been around and with politics probably longer than I've been alive. Where do you stand about the Liberal parties keeping WA strong? Because I've been thinking,
no, they're not.
I've been thinking about how do you come up with a catchphrase that goes against that.
Well, I have been in politics a while.
Yes.
A reporter once asked me, when did you get first involved in politics? And I said, I fought my first political campaign in utero. And the journalist said, what electorate is that in? But it's absolutely true. My father became a member of Parliament a month or two after before I was born.
Right.
So I'm well accustomed to politics, and I'm well accustomed to the skullduggery that goes on, and I'm well accustomed to people who are strangely in absolutely the wrong party, and people who say we should shut down Western Australia's power.
Right.
Power generators and abolish coal.
What about the borders?
Well, borders or day boys, they're all, are those borders. Right. The issue of borders, I'll just make it very clear.
Sure.
No state has the right under the Constitution to close its borders. It is absolutely forbidden under Section 92 of the Constitution.
Now, my question on that one is, how come the High Court was able to rule in favour of Mark McGowan in that, when it's black and white?
Against Clive Palmer, you mean, yeah?
Yeah, when he was trying to cross the border.
Well, I think it was very badly argued.
Right.
That may be the answer. But there are no exceptions under Section 92, even if there is a war on.
Right.
There are no exceptions, and so. But states have the right to create internal borders within a state, so that you can say, well, we want to protect the Pilbara, so we're going to stop people going into the Pilbara, for example.
Right.
That is perfectly legitimate. But I do believe it's important for governments to obey the rules. And state governments have not been obeying the rules,
especially this Labor government,
which is a point which is difficult. Now, I have some personal, serious concerns about Mr. McGowan. One is that he still persists in saying that hydroxychloroquine is dangerous. Well, the massive medical advice all around the world is quite to the contrary. But he has joined the Scott Morrison vaccines at any cost campaign and wants to frighten people into accepting compulsory and mandatory vaccination, and he has threatened to force vaccination upon every school child in Western Australia. There is no excuse for that whatsoever, and as a result of that McGowan attitude, a very large number of people are very concerned to protect their children from what is essentially an experimental operation.
Section 158 has given him the permission to do that.
Which is absolutely criminal.
And Section 158 was brought in by the Liberal Party.
Yep.
So
now, I do have a quick... I'm going to throw it over to the other Michael. If you do win, can we expect you to start calling out... And I've got to be a little bit careful what I say here, because my personal belief here... And the indication is the Mark McGowan government, and I've read the Criminal Act on this one, and it falls under abuse of office. I personally feel that Mark McGowan is abusing his position of office and he's breaking the Australian Constitution. If you do win a seat into Parliament, can we expect, because the Liberal Party is not...
Well, they're not really holding opposition.
They're not in opposition. I hate to say it, after seeing the protest rallies and all that sort of stuff with the massive showing for no mandatory vaccination party out there, I can understand why the Liberal Party and Labor Party are scared of them. Can we expect to see a lot more resistance and a lot more fight back from One Nation because there's a lot of people say they vote for One Nation, they vote for Liberals. Is One Nation going to follow the same suit and start conforming to what the Liberal Party and Labor say, or are they going to show the backbone and actually be an opposition?
What he's asking is, are you guys going to play a conservative game, or are you going to stand up?
I got that. Yeah, I got that. I'm going for the at this election. I'm basically a candidate for the lower house.
Yep.
So I don't know how much influence I could personally make, but I'm definitely supporting people to have choice, and I definitely support people who ask politicians to get out of science and medical science or whatever. They shouldn't be much of pressure from them. They should let people and scientists to do their job. Forced vaccination, why is that? Somebody should kind of justify it to us and me as a person to understand why we need the vaccine. What's the dangers and risks that we are facing from this COVID-19? How true it might be. There are different strains, and I don't know, but to me, I'm thinking our body could maintain itself through generations without any vaccinations. Obviously, there were prevailing disease that were going around and hurting people or killing people. So there should be some checks and balance there and some limits for politicians. I personally don't want government to put its hand into it, and especially with these interesting photos coming out. They're getting like fake jabs, and I'm thinking, why? What's the push? Why are they trying to cheat people into?
If they're scared of it themselves, if that's the case,
I don't understand how are they considering people like fools.
I have to say, I did see a very interesting video today. I can't confirm it's a fake or not, but apparently it's Mark Zuckerberg, so owner of Facebook, raging about vaccines, and it seems like he's a full-on anti-vaxxer himself.
What?
Yeah, so
he's done a couple of backflips on this, Travis. So he's come out first saying
that video is about a year old.
Right.
So,
because he was.
I saw it for the first time today. I'm thinking, hey, that sounds like Zuckerberg.
He was at some stage saying it's DNA altering.
Yes, correct.
And then he changed his mind and he said this is not DNA altering. So it really doesn't surprise me that.
You never know what money supply can do to you.
So what I would like to do, because there is one last lady in here, and especially we're talking about the fake information that's out there and all the lies and all that, we actually do have a lady in the studio here with us. I wasn't sure if we were going to have time to do it or not, but I think we might be able to squeeze her in.
While we do that,
one of the organisers from the rally on the weekend. So I'd love to hear from her. Because we do need to go to another lot of messages.
The lovely Vicky, right? So did you want to just quickly, I wanted to say congratulations, Michael Mabood, for standing up and for doing something that every Australian should do, which is take interest in politics. You're an engineer. You've stepped into politics. You're not a career politician.
No.
And I congratulate you for stepping up, I think, because we do need good leadership, and I could tell you're a good man, and I'm sure you'd provide good leadership. The other thing I want to say to you is it's sad to hear about the family court situation. That is heart-tearing for any man that's a family person like myself. So I really care for you and your situation. And I really hope that you can get into Parliament, make a change for men that have suffered from not being able to see their children.
To be honest with you, I've seen many men as well as women being hurt. And it's not just these people. These people are having like 2, 3 children or so on and so forth. So children are really getting hurt by the system.
So they're the ones, they're the victims of this situation, being divided by the family courts.
Exactly.
I'm fortunate I've got a beautiful family. I couldn't imagine a moment, let alone a day, without my own kids and my family.
Yeah.
So I wish you all the best, and I really hope on both fronts that you are a victor of this triumph here. I think for minority parties and for independents, it is a David versus Goliath battle.
No, it definitely is. So anyway, I'm just keeping an eye on the time here.
Is Vicky coming in?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm just checking now. So we do need to go to a message, and we'll be back after this on Carter's Corner with Travis Carter, Bass Tadros, Michael Darby, and Michael Mabood. Did I get it right?
Yes,
awesome.
perfect.
So good luck with the election, and we'll be back after this.
Thank you.
If you're not happy with your current property manager, then check out Exceed Real Estate. Exceed's experienced team are reliable, authentic, and will take responsibility for your investment property as if it was their own. They'll soothe all your investment stress. Find out why station sponsor Exceed Real Estate are the leaders in property management right across the metro area. For more information, simply go to exceedre.com.au. That's Exceed with an X. Life is better with Exceed.
Are you a small business owner looking for growth within the City of Stirling? Then why not consider becoming a member of the Stirling Business Association? The professional team can assist you in all aspects of your business. To find out more, simply search Stirling Business Association, station sponsor.
Does your internet blow more than the Freo Doctor? Download slower than merging on the Mitchell? Connection more up and down than a gym buff at Jacob's Ladder? Say goodbye to buffering and hello to Pentinet's Perth-powered internet. We're bringing Perth's internet up to speed because we live here too. For super fast, reliable fixed wireless, NBN and LBN fibre internet, get online now with Pentinet, your local Perth internet provider. Head to pentinet.com.au and check your address to see if you qualify.
Proud station sponsor.
Travis Carter here. We've got Michael Darby on the blue microphone. I keep forgetting to plug it. We do have a live stream going on at the moment. Wave to the camera, everyone. Hi. So if you do want, if you do want to watch this, it will be streamed live, so you can always replay it again after the event. And it is going through to, I think it's 8 or 9 different sites across the good old Saltbook, Facebook. So it is going out there. At rough guess, probably about 100, just so you're not nervous or anything, maybe 100 to 150,000 people. Yeah, no pressure at all. So we do have Travis Carter, we've got Michael Darby, we got
Michael Mabood.
Mabood.
Correct.
From One Nation, East Metro Mirrabooka.
Correct.
Fantastic. And we do have Vicky. Now, I did say you were one of the organisers, but I was wrong with that. You were one of the helpers. Is that right?
Helpers from the side of it with, cameras and, just general kind of, helper as well.
Getting stuff done.
Yeah, getting the general stuff done, getting the sound and the voices heard.
Fantastic. So I have to say congratulations to yourself as a helper and also all the organisers. I was speaking to one of the police officers there, and I said, how many people do you think is here? And he said there's between 2,500 to 3,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, besides the Black Lives Matter protest, I don't think I've seen any of the protests around the wearing of the masks, the border closures and all that. I don't think any of them have had that sort of number. So first of all, massive success to you guys. So well done. Now, I understand, and we've got Mark behind the screen there giving you a standing ovation. Well done. So what I do have to ask, is there another one?
There certainly is. Hot off the press.
Yep.
We've got the 6th of March.
6th of March.
Yes.
Have we got a time, date or anything like that
yes,
for it?
We're going to Sir James Mitchell Park.
I know that.
Which is on the South Perth foreshore.
Fantastic.
Right near the ferry. So, yeah, we
and
can...
what time is it due to start?
It's starting at 12 p.m.
Yep.
Nice, flat, easily accessible for people with disabilities.
And also access to public transport.
And elderly people, yes, with that who require mobility aids.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do have a question. So as someone who's helped with the last protest, how has the feeling of the media been compared to your other protests?
Compared to the protests that we've been doing since last year, the media, I think the tide is starting to turn. They're not so, depending where you go, there's certain places where you're always going to find the staunch, the personalities that they're just not going to be able to think outside the square, no matter how hard they try or how hard you try to make them.
So I think a real good example of that one is I was speaking to a few people at the rally who were also listening to 6PR and they were trying to call in on it. Apparently 6PR were calling it a anti-vaxxers rally and getting right into it, saying you guys were harming the populace by gathering so many people in one place. So
Yes.
again, can you consider that fake news?
Of course.
So
Well,
here first, 6PR could be fake news because I don't want to get sued.
Again, it's the black and white thinking and, the tunnel vision.
Yep.
So what 6PR don't realise, and they've obviously done absolutely no research whatsoever into, for instance, no mandatory vaccination party. If they did that research, they would realise, just as Rory Campbell from Channel 7 did, they would realise that it's not an anti-vaxxer movement.
I have to say, Corey, I did have Rory. I did do a impromptu interview with him.
Okay.
I don't know if he was too pleased with it, though. I can tell you that for sure. So I'm wondering if they're starting to understand that, especially here at Carter's Corner, we're not afraid to stick it to the so-called big guns. Prime example of that is the press conference with Andrea. Now with the protest march where they thought they could get away with trying to, I don't want to say fabricate, because they were definitely trying to take things out of context, and they didn't. So I have to give credit to Channel 7 for doing a total backflip on how they have reported in the past to how they're reporting now. So I love it. So well done to Channel 7 on that one, and especially Rory. Awesome.
Yes.
So, now, with this next protest, do you think you'll get the same numbers?
I hope we do. As we've figured out before in the past, like Grand Final Day, for instance, as it depends what else is actually going on in the city on the day.
Okay.
I certainly think they're becoming a lot more popular. And for instance, I've seen the numbers basically from last weekend, because last weekend was obviously a nationwide event. Called the Millions March. So now we're looking at numbers at around about 36,000 nationwide.
Is that really how many came to? Wow.
That's how, nationwide. So it's certainly, people are getting angry. People are scared.
Now, I'm going to throw this one over to Michael. Do you think you can come to this one? Because I was there. We had Tyler Walsh from One Nation that was there. We had Cam Tinley. I think we had most of the candidates for no mandatory vaccinations was there. We had the Great Australian Party was there. Was that Cullerton?
Yes, and of course Dr. Judy Wileman spoke.
Dr. Judy Wileman was there. We had the author Stephen Wells was the speaker there as well. So there's some really, really prominent people who aren't, just conspiracy theorists coming to these things. We've got actual people with authors and doctors and other politicians, because Rod Cullerton, isn't it?
Yes, former senator.
Former senator. So we've got genuine former politicians coming to these events. So it's not about anti-vaccination. It is genuinely about people having a concern about what goes into their body, and it should be their body, their choice.
Right.
And I have to say, there's been some really, really good pictures coming out. Like some of the one of the ladies there had a placard and it had like a timeline. I will do my hardest. I think I know the lady who had it, so we'll see if we can get some copies of the pictures so we can put them up on the Facebook. But the meme game this election has been phenomenal. So anything else you want to say about the next event that's coming up 6th of March?
What we're going to do this time is we're actually going to put on a little bit of a sausage sizzle. I think we're looking at getting a food van there potentially, or a coffee van. So this time we're not actually going to march. We will do it in situ.
Okay, I'm getting some messages coming through here from the text line. So if you do want to send messages through, 0418 897 897. Have you guys got a permit? And angry face.
Yes, I can answer that.
Yep.
One doesn't get a permit. One rents the ground from the city of South Perth.
Okay.
And the city of South Perth have generously supplied the ground for a total fee, I think, of $325.
That's not bad. So I have to say a big shout out to the City of South Perth. Well done.
And what we are going to be absolutely certain and scrupulous about leaving the Sir James Mitchell Park cleaner than we found it.
Fantastic, because I've seen some of the aftermath of the Black Lives Matter, a couple of the Extinction Rebellion protests. The amount of rubbish is insane. It's just eye to eye, like, is horrible. So, really, really looking forward to this one. I will definitely be there.
Great, thanks, Travis.
Actually, I have a question. If
go for it.
Don't mind, I'll jump in. Have you had any other groups of people basically jumping in and supporting you people? Because I'm told some people who've been protesting against parental alienation been kind of getting close or maybe supporting you by going out with you.
We've had, we did early on in the coronavirus, early on in the whole pandemic, however you'd like to look at it. We did have a particular group, which was a men's rights group, fathers' rights. They're still very much around, very much involved.
Yeah, FACRA, very good people.
FACRA.
So that's Family and Children's Rights Australia.
Yep. And then,
we've had them actually on this show, so they're actually campaigning for kids in the separation, not the actual fathers. So they're not a men's rights group. They're a kids' rights.
Children against children alienation.
Yeah. So, and then, for instance, at the event on Saturday, we've got the No Fluoride Party. We all kind of come together. So there's no fluoride. Another one is, the Health Australia Party. There's quite a few. We kind of, it's just an event where everyone pulls together. Of course, in any situation like this, you get people trying to kind of, different motives coming from different places.
I do love about these sort of events, watching it from the outside, is I love how all these different groups, like, not everyone shares the same values and beliefs on everything, but this is one thing that everyone across the board, whether you're on the left side of politics, right side of politics, this is something that's really important, because it's not just about yourself, it's also about your kids, your family members and all that sort of stuff. So it's something that definitely needs to be amended and needs to be fixed. There's simple civil liberties in there that have been abused, and it needs to stop. And again, I said it earlier, I do believe that there should be an investigation whether Mark McGowan has had a abuse of office, and whether that should be result in criminal charges or in criminal investigation. So I'll leave that one to the professional investigators, but from my perspective, looking in, it's looking suspicious. So anyway, we are coming up to the end of the show. We're getting right up there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to first throw it over to Mabood. Is there anything else you want to say? Call for volunteers. Have you got a Facebook page or a website that you want to promote?
Yes, I made a Facebook page.
Fantastic.
Because it's very new, I don't have many people's joining in.
Tell the people what it is, and we'll get them on board.
Yes, just Michael Mabood. Look for Michael Mabood. Surname is M for Mary, A for Apple, B for Bob, O, D for Dad, and Michael as the usual Michael that you might write it down, Michael.
Yep.
So Michael Mabood on Facebook. Yes.
Yep.
Thank
we'll
you.
also link it into the video descriptions as well. I'm looking at Dwayne. Is it through? Okay, so this one is, he's just telling me a few things. This show is Season 2, Episode 3. So on the link, the descriptions, so Season 2, Episode 3 of Carter's Corner, you will see the links to all the people who have been on the show today. Is the promotional material for the rally up and running and online yet?
Yes, I've just...
Okay, we'll link that as well.
Yeah, so that will be it's available immediately.
Fantastic, we'll get that through.
So I've made that tonight. And just wanted to let everyone know, come along. Any other information that you need to, I've got 2 Facebook groups which I admin. They've been going for quite a while now. Almost 10,000 people between the 2 of them, 10,000 members, I should say. So one is Constitutional Lawful Restoration from Corrupt Governance.
Wow, that's a mouthful and a half.
It is. You have to say it very slowly.
Can you say it again?
And another one is a little bit more casual, a little bit more Australian, and that's called Wake the Bloody Hell Up.
Okay, not a problem. So, Dwayne, where did you go? There he is. Have we got links to that as well? I'm getting the nods up. Yeah, cool. We've got the links, so we'll make sure that's in there as well. So make sure you look up Season 2, Episode 3, and we'll take it from there. So this has been Carter's Corner. I hope you've enjoyed it. Oh, hang on, Michael. Michael wants to say something. Mr. Darby?
Well, I want to wish Michael great success. Unfortunately for Michael and for a lot of other people, One Nation has been compromised by that bad decision to put the Greens anywhere but last. If I were a One Nation voter in Eastern Metropolitan Region, I would ignore the party ticket and follow by filling out the squares myself personally, and I would put Charles Smith high up on the ticket instead of at the bottom. That's my personal opinion. I remind everybody that no one is obliged to accept the party's dictates. You can vote independently, providing you write the numbers in full. That's for the Legislative Council.
Yep, so obviously that's the one with the big black line that runs all the way down the sheet. So vote below the line, you get to pick where your vote goes. Vote above the line, you trust the party 100% with your vote, whether it's a good decision or a bad decision. You're putting your whole entire future in the hands of that party. So, guys, your vote does count, and even when it comes down to the 1 or 2 votes, and the Perth council election is a prime example of that. Bruce Reynolds, I think he missed out by about 4 votes. That's how close the Perth state election was. Perth council election was. Your vote definitely does count. So on that note, we're going to sign off for today. So this has been Season 2, Episode 3 of Carter's Corner. I'm Travis Carter, and to all my guests that are here today, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
You can follow it up on Facebook, YouTube, and we'll be back next Tuesday. All right, enjoy, and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate it.